Chapter 683. Jiang Zhao introduced every dish to Zhou Li. As he did so, he was filled with an indescribable happiness. Jiang Zhao knew that his actions were despicable. He just wanted Zhou Li to feel uncomfortable. He wanted her to see what kind of life he and Yi Er were living. Zhou Li only dared to eat quietly. For the first time, she felt like she was living under someone else's roof. At night, Jiang Zhao took Zhou Li to the hospital to treat her wound. She had many requests, but the most important one was that there be no scars. Jiang Zhao smiled. That's impossible. The wound on Yi Er's forehead wasn't this deep. There were still some scars, but it's okay. I don't think it will affect anything. Zhou Li looked at Yi Er with pitiful eyes. Yi Er then said to the doctor, "Treat it well. Try not to leave any scars." The doctor said, "It's impossible to not leave any scars. We can only use the laser again and again." "Yes," Zhou Li answered eagerly. When Jiang Zhao lowered his eyebrows, a trace of disdain flashed across his eyes. On the way back, Zhou Li said that she didn't have any clothes to change into. Her voice was very soft, but Jiang Zhao still heard it. The car stopped outside the mall, and they went to buy clothes for Zhou Li together. When Yi Er came back, his face was gloomy. The trunk was full of clothes that Zhou Li had picked out. Yi Er said a lot of things, but Zhou Li didn't listen. She said that she had to wear this and that. She bought cosmetics, skincare products, nail polish, and everything was branded. Jiang Zhao followed beside him and kept swiping his card. Yi Er felt that he had never spent Jiang Zhao's money so recklessly before. He really had the urge to kick the tires. When they reached home that night, they arranged for Zhou Li to stay in the guest room downstairs. Jiang Zhao was sullen after he went upstairs. To him, it was too disappointing. It wasn't that he didn't respect his elders, but he had always thought that he was a very competent and qualified junior. No matter who in the Yun family it was, he didn't let them down. It was true that his father-in-law was a burden to him, but at least his father-in-law knew how to conduct himself. He still hoped that Yi Er would live well, so he was willing to do some things. Si Jia had always been sensible and was always on Yi Er's side. Zhou Li. He couldn't figure out why he couldn't scold that woman. He wanted to scold her, but it definitely wasn't because of the money she spent today. Yi Er followed behind Jiang Zhao the whole time. She took his clothes and went to the bathroom to adjust the water temperature for him to take a bath. After taking a bath, Jiang Zhao was still unhappy, so he went to bed. Yi Er glanced at her and took her pajamas to take a shower. As the warm water splashed against his body, Yi Er saw the white mist rising around him. He was lost in thought. Find a stick to stand on. Everyone could tell that Jiang Zhao was unhappy today. He was unhappy all the way home, and the reason for his unhappiness was his mother, Zhou Li. Although she didn't have the ability to see through Jiang Zhao completely, at the very least, he was a person who treated his family very well. Whether it was the Jiang family, the Qin family, or the Yun family, as long as they were his family, he would do his best. But she could understand why he didn't like Zhou Li. Jiang Zhao felt a gust of cold air behind him. Then the woman's slender hands and soft body wrapped around him and pressed against him. "Hubby," Yi Er called out in a low voice. Jiang Zhao turned around and hugged Yi Er. "Why are you calling me so sweetly? Yeah, didn't you say that I would serve you well tonight? I'm fragrant after a bath. I'm here to let you do whatever you want to me," Yi Er said as she pretended to lower her head shyly. Look at her like this, really, but he liked it. He reached out and sucked her mouth. He kissed her more forcefully and rubbed her harder. Unlike today in the kitchen, the bed was a good place for him to do whatever he wanted. "You only know how to seduce me for no reason. Yeah, you said that I'm a little fox. Shouldn't this be the time for me to cultivate? If I don't seduce you, Who else should I seduce? I have to rely on sucking a man's essence to cultivate. Don't you know? Then you have to be careful. You have to think that you can do it for 80 years. Haha, just as Yi let out an unbridled laugh, the man slipped in along the way. Oh, after a round of passion. Yi leaned into Jiang Zhao's arms. Ah, Zhao, I'll find a house for my mother tomorrow. Why? Yi's fingers circled the man's chest. You and my mother don't get along. Living together will be tiring for her. She's also used to being free. I think you won't understand her behavior, so it's better if we don't live together. Then what will she think? What if she doesn't agree? Ha! Yun Yi, Zhou won't agree to it. Look at the injury on her face today. Aren't you curious about why it happened? I think it's my aunt who did it. You guessed it. Yes, if not, with my mother's personality, she will definitely come and complain. This matter. Yi lowered her head, her voice was filled with a sense of inferiority. It will have a bad impact on her. Jiang Zhao hugged Yi. Her matters have nothing to do with you. You don't have to feel burdened. It's not good, you know. Don't always feel that you can't hold your head high in front of me because of her matters. If I care about those things, can we be together? Take it easy. Yeah, I'll go look for a house tomorrow. If you're unhappy every day, it'll affect your work. Let's ask for her opinion first. It's good that we don't live together, but if she doesn't agree, she's your mother after all. Although she's heartless to you, legally, we have the obligation to support her. Actually, Jiang Zhao's words were the most heartless. Even if the matter was in the past, his mother's heartlessness to him would still make his chest feel stuffy and short of breath when it was mentioned. He nodded and agreed with Jiang Zhao's opinion. The next morning, Yi hung up the clothes that Jiang Zhao had ironed last night so that Jiang Zhao could wear them after his morning exercise and shower. The two of them each ran a treadmill. Yi was already used to being forced by Jiang Zhao to exercise with him every day. Since resistance was futile, he could only comply. The two of them showered and went downstairs. Yi had stuffed the porridge in the pot before his exercise. At this time, he only went downstairs to fry some eggs, make some bread, and make 2 side dishes. Breakfast was very simple, but Jiang Zhao was very satisfied. Although there weren't many types of breakfast, there were slight variations every day. It was a simple day, so it was pretty good. After all the breakfast was laid out and placed on the table, Yi went to call Zhou to eat. Zhou was sitting at the table in beautiful clothes. She was holding a bottle of bright nail polish in her hand. Looking at the porridge in front of her, the corner of her mouth twitched. The corner of her mouth twitched in disgust. Is this all you're eating? It's really a simple meal. Yi was stunned. Simple meal. Jiang Zhao had never complained that she didn't do well. Zhou unscrewed the nail polish cap as she applied the porridge. A pungent smell filled the air, and one of her nails slowly turned bright red. Jiang Zhao frowned and tightened his grip on his chopsticks. The anger between his eyebrows rose higher and higher. Zhou raised her eyes and glanced at Jiang Zhao. She knew that Jiang Zhao always went along with Yi. She could tell when he bought her clothes yesterday. So at this time, she put on the attitude of a mother-in-law. When she spoke to Jiang Zhao, her tone carried a slight reprimand and a hint of mockery. Jiang Zhao, my daughter is only 19 years old. How can you bear to let her eat such things every day? If you don't want to eat out, you can have Haiyue restaurant deliver breakfast. You don't even want to invite a cook. You've got a good deal. You've got a wife, a nanny, and someone to sleep with. You eat so poorly all day long. You really know how to scheme. Bam! The bowl smashed on the table. Crash! The bowl on the table fell to the ground with a shattering sound. The porridge on the table splattered all over Zhou Jiang Zhao. Yi Er grabbed Jiang Zhao, who had already stood up and his veins were throbbing. Ah Zhao! Jiang Zhao's face was like a metal mask. His arms were strong and powerful. With a flick, he shook Yi Er away. He raised his hand and pointed at Zhou, whose face was still covered in gauze and whose porridge was splattered. He was furious. If you can't *king enjoy this good fortune, then get lost. Awesome novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 684. Jiang Zhao could not stand a woman like Zhou. Even if a woman wanted to paint her nails and flirt, there should be a time and place. It was early in the morning, and the location was at the dining table. But it was enough that he could tolerate these things. But what he could not tolerate was Zhou Li's disdain. The Jiang family had been strict since young. They never advocated extravagance and waste, and the Qin family was the same. They never thought that plain porridge and side dishes were coarse vegetables and bland rice. She even wanted Si Moon restaurant to deliver breakfast. Fine, fine. Everyone's requirements and standards were different. He did not insist. What was Yi Er? Be a nanny and sleep with him. He had never thought of having Yi Er be a nanny. The auntie at home was only in charge of the housework during the day because he did not go home for lunch. In the past, it was the auntie who cooked for his father-in-law. When he was at home at night, he naturally did not want to eat the auntie's cooking. But if Yi Er was unwilling, he would not force her. Be a nanny and sleep with him. Didn't she feel how harsh her words were? What did Yi Er become? Sleep with him. Was Yi Er a prostitute? Yi Er hugged Jiang Zhao and stroked his heaving chest. She shook her head and looked at him. Ah Zhao, don't be angry. I didn't take it seriously. I took it seriously. After Jiang Zhao pushed Yi Er away, he also pushed the chair away and went upstairs to change his clothes. Yi Er watched as Jiang Zhao disappeared around the corner of the stairs. Zhou, what are you doing? Yi Er could not call Zhou Mom in front of her. She already had a psychological barrier. In front of Jiang Zhao, she could still call her my mom, my mom. But looking at Zhou, she felt more like an old mother waiting on her. Her daughter. Yi Er, Jiang Zhao asked me to leave. Zhou walked shakily to Yi Er's side. She tugged on the apron that Yi Er was still wearing. When she heard Jiang Zhao tell her to get lost, her legs trembled. She didn't dare to leave. She didn't want to leave. She was afraid that she would meet Zhou Yan as soon as she went out. No one dared to come to Jiang Zhao's house to take her away. She couldn't leave this protective umbrella. All right, I'll look for a house for you during the day. Yi Er took a towel from the kitchen and wiped the porridge off the table. Then she went to the balcony to get a cloth to clean up the porridge. Zhou was afraid of brushing her own feet, so she took a few steps back and said fearfully, Yi Er, I'm not leaving. I want to stay with you guys. How are Jiang Zhao and I going to live with you if you live with us like this? Zhou looked at Yi Er's indifference and felt her heart clench. In the past, Yi Er always hoped that the family could be together, but now she wanted to chase her away. As for Yi Er, the blood relationship between mother and daughter could not be severed. No matter how detestable other people thought Zhou was, it could not change the fact that Zhou was her mother. There was a feeling that was hard to understand called empathy. But at this moment, she could feel Jingling's pain. She also responded to her mother. At that time, Jingling cried and said, Yi Er, do you know? I hate her to death. How can I have such a mother? I wanted to kill her several times, but... Yi Er lowered her head and wiped the floor. She gritted her teeth and thought angrily, how can I have such a mother? Yi Er, don't let mommy leave. Mommy has nowhere to go. Shou Yan, I know you're afraid of hardship. I'll find you a neighborhood with a good environment and hire a cleaner for you. I can still take care of you now. Don't worry, I'll try my best to not let you suffer. But something like last night's shopping spree, I won't let it happen again. Yi Er raised her head and looked resolutely at Zhou, who had been standing far away from her. She threw the rag on the floor and stood up. Her hands were a little dirty and wet, so she wiped them on her apron and said seriously, ever since the Yun family fell, I've always split my money into two. Sometimes, I wish I could split it into 3 or 4. You can say that I'm useless and can't enjoy life, but I've never spent Jiang Zhao's money like that before. Whether he has money or not is one thing. So what if he has money? No one's money comes from nothing. Every penny he earns is hard work. If I can bear the family expenses, I won't have any objections if you want to buy those luxury items. But my dance studio has only been open for a few months. It's not like you don't know that. Do the math yourself. Last night, you alone spent more than 3 million yuan. Do you know how big of a sum 3 million yuan is? Do you need to buy so many clothes that cost 2 to 300,000 each? Do you think Jiang Zhao is a sucker? I can't buy more than 3 million worth of clothes and cosmetics in a year. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have let Jiang Zhao shop last night. If I had only wanted to go with you, I wouldn't have bought those clothes for you. Zhou said anxiously, Mommy won't buy them in the future. I won't buy them, okay? I couldn't hold it in. I'll change in the future, okay? Tell Jiang Zhao that I won't do it again. Yi Er brushed away Zhou's hand that was tugging on her apron. Jiang Zhao doesn't care about your spending. I'm the one who cares about money. Your lifestyle and habits don't match his. If you live together, this kind of thing will definitely happen again. Don't you think what you said just now was unpleasant? What do you take me for? That's what Jiang Zhao cares about. Do you know that? Yi Er, I just don't want you to have a hard time. My breakfast is. Upon hearing Zhou's pitiful tone, Yi Er recalled the day her father was hospitalized. She sneered, your breakfast is all sent by Highway Restaurant, right? In the past, at the Yun family, it was specially prepared by a Guangdong chef every day, right? That's how my father and Yuan Shichang treat you well, but that's not how Jiang Zhao and I live. He and I both like the way we live now, but you look down on it. If you really have a problem with breakfast, can't you tell me in private? Don't you know that I made breakfast? Jiang Zhao is treating me well now, so he's angry at you. Have you ever thought about what would happen if he doesn't treat me well and you ruined your own daughter's breakfast in front of your son-in-law? And is this kind of breakfast really that unbearable? Dad, Sijie, and the rest all said it was very good. Yi Er's voice became a little hazy with uncertainty. After hearing Zhou's words, she couldn't help but wonder if her family's praise of her cooking was false. What about Jiang Zhao? Could it be the same? At this moment, she felt a warmth on her back. Jiang Zhao had already changed into his suit. He hugged her from behind and put his mouth next to Yi Er's ear as if there was no one else around. I'm going to work. Go and do what we talked about last night. He pecked her cheek. Breakfast was delicious. I liked it a lot. Don't think too much. Yi Er's heart instantly warmed. After Jiang Zhao finished speaking, he didn't look at Zhou and sat down again. He picked up the bowl of porridge that Yi Er had just eaten and started eating with big bites along with the side dishes. After he finished eating the egg, he wrapped a piece of bread with side dishes and put it in his mouth to eat with big bites. This was the way he liked to eat carelessly. When they ate outside, Jiang Zhao would always be gentlemanly and elegantly savoring the food without leaving any crumbs at the corners of his mouth. But when he ate Yi Er's food at home, he always liked to eat with big bites. The way he ate showed how he liked it. Jolie watched as Jiang Zhao ate his breakfast in satisfaction and didn't dare to lean against the table. She felt that even though Jiang Zhao and Yi Er had laughed before, when they sat down to eat, there was a terrifying aura that kept people away. Jiang Zhao didn't call Yi Er to eat. He finished a few mouthfuls and went to work. No matter what Jolie promised Yi Er was determined to find a new house for Jolie. This was something she had decided on last night. Jolie was her mother. No matter how hateful she was, this blood relationship could not be severed. It was impossible to sever it. Jiang Zhao said that they had an obligation to support her. In fact, he was already very kind. What Jolie and Yuan Shichang did almost caused Jiang Zhao to never be able to recover. If Jolie had the slightest bit of conscience, she would have come to inform her. But she didn't. She couldn't ignore it. She couldn't force Jiang Zhao to live under the same roof as someone who wanted to harm her. Moreover, the hospital said that her father's condition had improved and that he was about to be discharged. If Jolie said something she shouldn't, her father wouldn't be able to withstand the slightest provocation. Jiang Zhao returned to the building. The secretary had been changed. Her name was Li Ran. She was the secretary of the deputy director of the city's public security bureau. This was considered skipping a grade. Li Ran had worked in the public security bureau for a long time. When she did things, she always had the mindset of a public security bureau detective. The things she did were very interesting. The reports she wrote also had the flavor of investigation and counter-investigation. Jiang Zhao felt that this young man would probably have to return to the public security bureau to be an officer in the future. Otherwise, he would feel like a hero with no place to use his talents. Shen Kai sat on the sofa and drank the coffee made by Li Ran. However, he complained about Li Ran unkindly. Jiang Zhao, your current secretary really doesn't know the ways of the world at all. Really, I'm still a member of the Examination Institute, right? Even if I'm a Luo, I'm the only one who can investigate other people. No one else can investigate me. How dare he interrogate me? But I'm still not a Luo. I'm the biggest Luo in the procuratorate. Jiang Zhao was sitting opposite Shen Kai. He was fiddling with the tea set and brewing tea. When he heard Shen Kai was angered by Li Ran, he laughed. It's all because of Luo. Yes. It's still Luo. You're amazing. You're not Luo. You're just a mayor. Jiang Zhao raised his eyebrows and said provocatively. That's right. I have a higher rank than you. What should I do? Shen Kai was a loafer. Even in the mayor's office, he was still a loafer. Of course, the premise was that the mayor's secretary was not present, and the door was closed. Sometimes, a hooligan's words were like a robbery. It's good that you don't know what to do. Since you have a higher rank, then why don't you do something? What's in it for me? No matter if it was Jiang Zhao, Zhuang Yichen, or Shen Kai, or anyone else in this circle, they would not forget to add on. What's in it for me? No one is willing to help others if there is no equivalent exchange of benefits. This is the unspoken rule in this circle. Of course. I don't think I'm such an unscrupulous person. The smile on Jiang Zhao's face and eyebrows was faintly discernible. Let's talk about the benefits first. Robber. Ha! You're a hooligan. What qualifications do you have to call me a robber? Fine. I received a report from the front line. Ouyang Xing had used his personal connections to approve a 200 million loan to Ouyang Xing. What do you think of this condition? Jiang Zhao laughed. You have no conscience. Everyone knows you like Ouyang Yan. Shen Kai slanted his lips and gave a mischievous smile. Didn't you like her too? What did the movie say? Who hasn't liked two scumbags in their lifetime? Pfft. Jiang Zhao laughed and spat. If there's a scumbag, it's you. Haiqing's #1 hooligan. You have the nerve to call others scumbags. Jiang Zhao felt that although Shen Kai looked like a simple-minded hooligan, he was actually very clear about his own interests. When it came to women, it was true that he liked them, but he would put his own interests first. It seemed that he had never given up his own interests for the Ouyang Yen. If such a man was placed in ancient times, he would be the material of an emperor, right? He was heartless. But to say that Shen Kai was heartless, Jiang Zhao shook his head. What Shen Kai said next must have something to do with the Shen family. Sure enough, Shen Kai drank his coffee and leaned back. I heard that Grandfather Qin recently found a family for Fei Yu. They plan to have a marriage alliance with Ji City's Pei family. Is that right? That's fast news. They've only been talking about this for a few days. Since the Qin family and the Pei family are going to be in-laws, things are easier to talk about. Oh. Yesterday, Shen Xian was playing in Ji City and beat up the young master of the Pei family. Sigh, in Haiqing, the Shen family is also one of the top families. Shen Kai was annoyed. He wanted to light a cigarette, but after thinking about it, he gave up. Jiang Zhao nodded. Indeed, the Shen family was definitely one of the top families in Haiqing. Shen Xian, this girl, had become more and more troublesome in the past 2 years. She had the title of Haiqing's #1 beauty, but she didn't look like a well-bred young lady at all. No wonder a hooligan like Shen Kai was frowning so much. Shen Kai sighed. Now that the Pei family has detained her, it would be fine if she was in Haiqing. But in Ji City, the strong dragon can't suppress the local snake. My family's old master is so angry that he's about to vomit blood. Jiang Zhao looked at Shen Kai's melancholy expression. He really couldn't relate this to Shen Kai. Jiang Zhao's tea was already boiling. He smiled as he poured water into the teapot to wash the tea set. Are you still afraid that the Pei family will do anything to Shen Xian? The Pei family also knows the Shen family's status in Haiqing. They definitely won't do anything rash. Look at how anxious you are. Don't worry, they probably just want Xian to admit her mistake and apologize or something. Shen Kai rolled his eyes at Jiang Zhao. That's why people say that acne is the least worrisome when it's on someone else's face. If Fei Yu was detained today, I'll see if you can still smile. Jiang Zhao shook his head. Our Fei Yu has never hit anyone, so this kind of thing won't happen to Fei Yu. See, you always think that your sister is the best, right? Hearing you say this, I really want to beat you up. How about this, I'll immediately get Grandpa to contact the Pei family and bring Xian back. But I'll add one more condition. How about it? When Jiang Zhao spoke, it was as if he was brewing tea on the tea table, neither hurried nor slow. But when he looked at Shen Kai's gaze and smile, it was as if there was a needle hidden in the silk floss. Sigh. Shen Kai looked straight into Jiang Zhao's eyes and suddenly shook his head. Jiang Zhao, I'll tell you this now. If you can help me this time, as long as it's within my ability, I won't even frown. Come and see. Xinwu 799. Chapter 685. Jiang Zhao's heart skipped a beat. He felt that the situation was not as simple as it seemed. Is it that serious? Shen Kai heaved a sigh of relief. His brows furrowed tightly as he said solemnly, last night, Shen Xian was playing with her friends at a nightclub in Ji City. She had too much to drink and tried to hit him with a bottle. She hit the back of his head and he fainted. His condition is very serious now. Send someone to find out if he can leave the ICU. It's unknown. There's a 90% chance that he will become a vegetable. Oh my God. Jiang Zhao frowned as well. No wonder Shen Kai looked like this. Something that could make this loafer so serious was indeed not a small matter. What's wrong with little Xian now? She dares to cause trouble everywhere. Shen Kai couldn't drink any more coffee. He placed the cup on the coffee table and said angrily, "It's all because she didn't want to marry into the Han family. She wanted to ruin her reputation. Now she's causing trouble in City G. She's so far away from the emperor." Jiang Zhao couldn't continue brewing his tea anymore. He leaned back. This matter wasn't something that anyone could interfere in. No wonder. If she had really hit one person, the two big families would not have made things ugly. They would have just apologized and the matter would have been settled. However, she had hurt him to this extent. Ji City was located in the south. It was as famous as the Jiang family in the east. It was a rich family that no one dared to offend. Shen Xian had beaten young Master Pei into a vegetable. The Pei family would not let this matter rest. This was no longer a matter of how high the heavens were and how far the earth was. Did the Pei family reveal how they are going to deal with this matter? At this time, Jiang Zhao no longer dared to rashly raise any conditions. Some businesses really couldn't be accepted just because he said so. At this time, Shen Kai finally couldn't take it anymore. He took out a cigarette, picked it up and showed it to Jiang Zhao. There was an ashtray and a lighter on Jiang Zhao's coffee table. He pointed at the lighter. Shen Kai took the lighter, lit the cigarette, took a puff, and exhaled the smoke. He gritted his teeth and said, "With such a serious injury, I'm afraid my little bastard will have to go to jail." Jiang Zhao repeated in a deep voice, "Jail?" "Yes, the Pei family doesn't agree to reconcile. Our old master has never lowered his head to anyone in his life. This time, he tried his best to put in a good word, but they didn't give him any face. But then again, if there's anyone to blame, it's that little rascal's fault for being too good at causing trouble. No matter who it is, it's impossible for them to just let it go, right?" Jiang Zhao nodded. "That's right. No matter who it is, they won't just let it go. Even if my grandfather comes forward, he might not be able to," Shen Kai said. "Now, we really need Grandpa Qin to be the peacemaker. After all, the Qin and Pei families intend to form a marriage alliance. Grandpa Qin said that no matter the cost, we can't let the little rascal go to jail. This isn't a matter of reputation. You know that we all have a hard life. We all have men as the boss, and the youngest is a girl." Jiang Zhao teased, "Are you saying that Grandpa Shen is biased?" "That's not it. I naturally dote on that little rascal as well. Although I'm angry at her for this matter, it's already happened. What else can we do? Also, the incident at the nightclub can't be blamed entirely on that little rascal. Everyone should be at fault at the start. Sigh, the more I talk about this, the more I feel like I'm trying to make excuses for that girl. Sigh, let's not talk about it. You won't understand how I feel." "Why wouldn't I understand? Who doesn't protect their children? Who doesn't want to defend their children when something happens to them? No one is a saint, isn't that right? How can my grandfather be the peacemaker?" Shen Kai didn't speak for a long time until he finished his cigarette. "You know that Shen Xian has an engagement with the Han family. It's not very good for us to take the initiative to break off the engagement. I want Grandpa Qin to come forward and mediate the situation. Now that Xian is in trouble, isn't it better to have the Han family to back her up? Breaking off the engagement at this juncture." Jiang Zhao had just finished speaking when he saw Shen Kai's eyes turn red for the first time. Shen Kai raised his head and looked. He looked up. He calmed himself down and looked at Jiang Zhao again. "Old master means that as long as that little rascal doesn't go to jail, we'll think of a solution in the future. There's a 90% chance that Boss Pei will be in a vegetative state now, but Shinkai pressed the cigarette in his hand heavily into the ashtray and rolled it repeatedly with unusual force. A little cigarette but was enough to make his joints turn white. His hand and lips were trembling, but he didn't look at Jiang Zhao. Old Master said to negotiate with the Pei family for that little rascal to marry over. Even if Boss Pei is in a vegetative state for the rest of his life, the little rascal will take care of him for the rest of his life and give him 100 billion dowry. Jiang Zhao was shocked by Shinkai's words. Shinkai continued, the Pei family is in a fit of anger now. Old Master is worried that they won't agree to a reconciliation even if that's the case. He's so anxious that he can't get out of bed. So, he sent me to talk to Grandpa Qin. I thought about it, and since we're of the same generation, I decided to sort this out with you first. I'm also in a mess now. After all, I don't know Grandpa Qin's temper. Do you think the Qin family can help with this matter? The old master can't even catch his breath now. If that little rascal goes to jail, I'm afraid the old master will have to hand it over to us. You know, my uncles and my father have 2 or 3 children in our family. Unfortunately, Shen Xian is the only one left. The old master can't bear to. Shinkai's sincerity was hard to come by. This touched Jiang Zhao very much. He gritted his teeth as he called Shinkai a little rascal. But the emotion and tone of his voice were all love that he wished he could protect under his wings. Shinkai was right. Acne on other people's faces was the least worrisome. If this matter happened to Feiyu, it would worry the family to death. Grandfather would definitely be so angry that he couldn't get out of bed. I'll discuss it with grandfather. I really don't dare to ask for your benefits now. I'll give you an answer tonight. Hearing Jiang Zhao's words, Shinkai pushed his luck. Let's do it in the afternoon. Don't do it tonight. You wait until night. How can my days pass by so quickly? Okay. I'll call my grandfather immediately. But I can't promise you anything. I can only do my best. Shinkai stared at Jiang Zhao and slowly said solemnly, Jiang Zhao, if the Qin family can help resolve my sister's matter, Shinkai will treat you as a real brother. If you need my help in the future, don't hesitate to tell me. I, Shinkai, will not hesitate. Jiang Zhao was stunned. Then he slapped his thigh and said straightforwardly, okay. Yi Er's efficiency in finding a house was due to the fact that she had commissioned an agent. She had stated her requirements. Exquisite renovations, 40 to 60 square meters, 1 or 2 rooms were fine. Jolie complained that the apartment was too small. Yi Er was furious. Madame Zhou, an exquisitely renovated 40 square meter elevator apartment would cost 2,000 yuan in Haiqing. 60 square meter apartment would cost nearly 3,200 yuan. What more do you want? You live in such a big house. Can't you even let me stay in one? Yi Er controlled her temper. The more Jolie acted like this, the more she felt that renting a house was the right thing to do. If she lived with Jiang Zhao like this, Jiang Zhao would definitely be so disgusted that he wouldn't want to go home. The house I rented for you isn't bad. You can have whatever you want. It has furniture and appliances. The renovations aren't bad either. The houses I found for you are all renovated by landlords for you to live in. Others have lived in those houses before. You allow your father to live in 9th mansion, but you don't allow me to live there. Heh, didn't you say that you wanted Si Jia and I would live with Dad? Isn't it natural for Dad to live with me? Then do you want Si Jia now? You can take care of Si Jia. You'll be responsible for his living expenses, school fees, and transportation. Jolie was immediately dumbfounded. I think I'll live alone. I don't have the ability to take care of Si Jia. Yi Er resisted the urge to scold her and turned to follow the agent. In the morning, Jolie's housing problem was quickly solved and she hired a cleaner to clean the house. Jolie was penniless. She lowered her head and said, "Yi-er, Mom doesn't have money with her." Yi-er went to the rental house to get some cash. She knew that Jolie was a spendthrift. She had about 3,000 yuan left in her bag and gave it all to Jolie. Although the rent here is expensive, the surroundings are complete. There's a big supermarket at the intersection. You can buy some groceries to cook at home every day. Don't eat out all the time. It's expensive and unhygienic. I'll give you 3,000 yuan for living expenses every month. You can spend it sparingly. Jolie looked up in shock. 3,000 yuan. How can 3,000 yuan be enough? God! How am I supposed to live on 3,000 yuan? Yi-er really felt like crying. She hadn't called her mom for a long time. But now, she called her mom with dissatisfaction. I used to live in an old house with Sijia for more than 8 years. We only spent about 600 yuan a month on groceries. And I spent so much because I had to give Sijia more food every week when he came back. I usually buy 50 yuan worth of groceries and put them in the fridge for a week. Now, I'm letting you live in an apartment with an elevator. I'll pay for the rent and utilities. 3,000 yuan a month. How is that not enough? Yi-er, you're married to Jiang Zhao. Jiang Zhao lives in such a big house and is so rich. Why don't you ask him for more? 3,000 yuan isn't even enough to book a monthly card at the beauty salon, okay? Yi-er clenched her fists and held back her anger. She sneered and said, "Ms. Zhou, Jiang Zhao is an idiot. That's why he married me. I'm an idiot. That's why I care about you." Then she turned around and left. Jolie heard Yi-er's voice getting farther and farther away. 3,000 yuan a month. Take it or leave it. If you don't want it, I won't send you any money next month. You have to figure it out yourself. Awesome novel. Xinwu 799. Chapter 686. Jolie chased after Yi-er anxiously. Yi-er, don't treat Mom like this. After Yi-er was pulled, she turned around and sighed with her shoulders slumped. You also said that you're my mother. If it weren't for this gauze on your face, who would say that you look like my mother? You look just a few years older than me. Sometimes, I really want to say some hurtful words to you, but I can't. I hate that I've inherited Dad's genes in my blood. If only I had inherited your cold-blooded and heartless genes. Jolie slowly let go of Yi-er's hand. Yi-er, you said that Mom is cold-blooded. Isn't that so? Yi-er pursed his lips. Other than Yuan Shichang, who do you have feelings for? My father. You don't, right? Me. You don't either. If you have feelings for Sijia, why are you saying that you don't want him anymore? You're afraid that he'll drag you down, right? Other than your own comfort, who else have you thought about? Do you think that it's only right that Yuan Shichang protect you? Do you think that he should protect you since you've been with him for so many years? Mom, putting aside the matter of Jiang Zhao and Yuan Shichang, I think that Yuan Shichang is more humane than you. Really, at least in that situation, he didn't drag you down with him. He clearly knew that if he did, you would become his accomplice. As long as you helped him get a lighter sentence, he would have given you a lighter sentence. Gently, but he didn't do it, but you touch. But tell me honestly, have you ever been touched? Have you ever been touched from the bottom of your heart? Yi-er left with a hint of disdain. Jolie returned to her room with the 3,000 yuan that Yi-er had given her. She suddenly didn't know what to do. Whether it was with Yun Hongwei or Yuan Shichang, she had never been so tight on money as she was now. What could she do with 3,000 yuan? Yi-er said that she used to spend 600 yuan on groceries in the past, and that was only when Yuan Shichang was at home on weekends. And when she went out to eat with Yuan Shichang, she had to eat a steak that cost 2,000 yuan each. A cocktail made by a high-class bartender cost 700 to 800 yuan, not to mention an expensive glass of red wine, booking the entire theater for a movie. Yi Er said that her clothes and cosmetics cost less than 3 million yuan a year. However, if one day she wanted to shop, not to mention 3 million, if she bought jewelry, it would be more than 10 million. Yuan Shicheng always said that he would buy her all the stars. As long as someone was willing to sell her, only the best things in the world were worthy of her. Yun Hongwei had also said this before. Touching the gauze on his face, how should he go on in the future? Jiang Xiao told Qin Rongfang about the Shen family over the phone. Originally, he planned to go back to the house to talk about it in detail at noon, but Qin Rongfang said that it was not good to go home during working hours, so he went to the building to find him. When Shen Kai heard that Qin Rongfang was coming over, he did not leave and kept waiting. Qin Rongfang was led into Jiang Xiao's office by Li Ran. Shen Kai bowed to Qin Rongfang politely. "Grandpa Qin, sorry to disturb you." Qin Rongfang patted Shen Kai's shoulder. "Kai Zi, this child is getting more and more pleasing to the eye, ha. Grandpa Qin, you're too kind. You've grown up. Ha, this kid has a sense of humor. I like him." Li Ran asked Qin Rongfang what kind of tea he would like to drink, and Qin Rongfang said that Jiang Xiao knows how to brew tea. Shen Kai said unhappily. "Li Ran, why didn't you check the household register?" Li Ran looked at his watch and did not beat around the bush. "Mr. Shen, the office and the building closes at 11:30 p.m. Those who look for Mayor Jiang at this time are all private matters, and it's not convenient for the secretary to ask." Jiang Zhao and Qin Rongfang both burst into laughter. Shen Kai was not in a good mood, but he only scolded him. "Idiot." After the three of them sat down, Qin Rongfang went straight to the point. "Kai Zi, that brat Xian really beat Boss Pei until he is in a vegetative state. Why didn't I hear old Pei mention this? It should be because everyone is rushing to the hospital. How can they be in the mood to talk about it?" Shen Kai actually understood why the Pei family wanted to detain Qin Rongfang. He just wanted to minimize the harm to his sister. Now that Qin Rongfang was so concerned about it, he told him the whole story. Qin Rongfang reached out to pinch the skin between his brows and rubbed it. His snow-white brows were furrowed. "Although our Qin family doesn't have much business dealings with your Shen family, old Shen and I have never stopped seeing each other. For old Shen to make such a decision, I can understand his heart-wrenching feeling. To be so angry, sigh. I'm afraid he can't wait to raise his walking stick and beat Xian to death." Shen Kai nodded solemnly. "Isn't that so? He keeps shouting at home that he wants to go to Ji City and beat that little bastard to death. The more he shouts, the more he can't catch his breath. Everyone at home is worried." Qin Rongfang said, "It's the same for anyone else. He keeps shouting about that troublemaker, but in his heart, he just wants his child to be safe. Otherwise, even if you put a knife to old Shen's neck and gave him 100 billion yuan, he wouldn't bear to marry Xian to a comatose person. This is simply the worst plan. But we don't have a good solution. If it was in Haiqing, we could think of something, but the Pei family's roots are in the south. We can't do anything. Even if we use our connections, it's impossible to overcome their local influence. Grandpa Qin knows that the Pei family's influence is similar to the Jiang family in the east. Not only are they rich and powerful, but they also have a complicated political background. If the Pei family refuses to reconcile and insists on making a fuss, we can't do anything at all." Qin Rongfang nodded as he listened. Shen Kai took over Jiang Zhao's job just now. He poured the tea and handed it to Qin Rongfang with both hands. This was how a well-mannered family taught the younger generation to serve tea to their elders. Qin Rongfang especially liked that the children of rich families inherited the old tradition. He always felt that the younger generation's attitude towards their elders determined a person's character. Even if an unfilial person could achieve great things, it would only be 30 years in the East, and 30 years later, it would be the West. Good qualities could be passed down to the next generation. Only with such children could the family's lintel shine. After drinking Shin Kai's tea, Qin Rongfang put the cup back on the table. Kaizi, I know that old Shin asked you to come to me because you can make the decision. I'll definitely help if I can. Don't talk about this and that. It's like we're robbing a burning house. Grandpa Qin, what are you talking about? I didn't think of that. Whether he thought of it or not, there was no need to say it too clearly. Everyone knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch. The Shin family and the Qin family didn't have much business dealings in the past, but they would in the future. I'll make a trip to Ji City tonight. You, Jiang Zhao, come with me. If Ruoxuan really marries over, our Qin family and the Shin family will be related relatives. Okay, thank you, Grandpa Qin. Jiang Zhao nodded. Grandpa, then I'll ask for leave. Qin Rongfang nodded in agreement. When Jiang Zhao asked for leave, he wanted to take Yi Er with him. Yi Er said no. Dad is still in the hospital. Yun Yi, let's hire 2 more nurses to take care of him for 2 days. Can't you go with me for 2 days? I'm going to Ji City with Grandpa this time. It's a tricky situation. Are you just going to watch your husband fight with others alone without anyone to take care of him? Jiang Zhao's tone was really pitiful. Yi Er finally gave up struggling. Then I'll arrange for the nurses. But you must come back on Friday night. No one will pick Sijia up. Don't worry. He really won't come back. There are so many people in the Qin family. You're just a 20-year-old girl. How can you be so thoughtful? Are you an old woman going through menopause? I'll go, okay. Okay, pack some clothes. I'll pick you up after work. Jiang Zhao went to pick Yi Er up after work. Yi Er heard from Jiang Zhao that the Pei family's matter was more difficult to deal with, so she didn't ask too much. She only listened to the conversation between the 3 men on the private plane and roughly understood the whole story. The housekeeper made tea for Qin Rongfang every once in a while, and the family doctor took his blood pressure from time to time. After getting off the plane, the airport was very crowded. There were people everywhere to pick them up. Even though they came out of the VIP passage, they could still feel the bustle of Ji City from the busy footsteps. Shin Kai and Qin Rongfang walked in front and talked as they walked. Jiang Zhao held Yi Er's hand and walked behind. Yun Yi, I didn't bring you here for fun this time. I know. You want me to take care of you and Grandpa, right? I'll do my best. Don't worry. It's not that. Jiang Zhao brought Yi Er's hand to his lips and kissed it. Yun Yi, I wanted to bring you here to take a look at the negotiations between the big families. You might have a sense of superiority when you're in Haiqing. The Qin family's power, the Jiang family's power in the East, and my status will form a sense of superiority in your heart. But you have to remember that in this world, there will always be people who are better than you. You have to leave yourself some leeway when you do things. Shin Xian caused trouble this time, and the Shin family sacrificed at least half of their power to ensure her safety. Yi couldn't help but feel apprehensive. However, Jiang Zhao continued, if sacrificing half of the empire can protect her, then that's still fine. But you will see in a moment. For some clans, even if you offer up half of the empire, they might not even care about it. That's because they have their own powerful kingdoms. Perhaps even if grandfather were to personally make a move today and do his best, he might not succeed. So Yun Yi, now you should know why the Jiang family and the Qin family are so powerful, but they still use a mediocre education method instead of a tyrannical one, right? It's because if you walk by the river often, your shoes will inevitably get wet. Qian's mistake this time is enough for her to regret it for the rest of her life. Yi Er squeezed Jiang Zhao's hand. Her palms were sweaty. She stopped in her tracks and looked into Jiang Zhao's eyes. She said firmly, "Hubby, no matter what official you become in the future, I won't put on airs and offend people outside. I promise." Ha! Jiang Zhao held Yi Er's hand and brought it to his mouth again. He reached out and patted her head. "I knew you were the best." Awesome Novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 687. For a moment, Yi Er wanted to drown in Jiang Zhao's gaze. It was as soft as the morning sunlight with golden edges. She wanted to throw herself into his arms in public, but then she remembered her family's teachings, to be dignified and reserved. She held herself back and pouted. "I'm so obedient. Is there a reward?" Jiang Zhao bowed his head on Yi Er's neck and said in a hoarse voice, "Yes." When they arrived in City Ji, the car sent by the Pei family came to pick them up. It was a black and domineering nanny car. No sound could be seen from the outside. The driver opened the door for them politely. In order to show their respect for Qin Rongfang, the Pei family sent their eldest son, Pei Xianwen, to pick them up. It was his son, Pei Jincheng, who had an accident. They all knew the purpose of Qin Rongfang's trip. Pei Xianwen's attitude was a bit cold, but he was still respectful to Qin Rongfang. Jiang Zhao roughly described the Pei family to Yi Er on the plane. Their ancestors were officials in the Qin dynasty. At their peak, they had thousands of fields of grain and thousands of pawnshops. They were very rich. Later, when the country declined, the Pei family's foundation was restored due to the strict ancestral system. Instead, they became more and more prosperous in the troubled times. It was not until the domestic movement and the struggle for ownership of land that they truly declined. But the Pei family had always been business-minded. At the beginning of the domestic movement, they had been transferring their property abroad. Although a lot of it was later confiscated, it did not affect their slow rise after the private ownership of land. At that time, the ancestral house of the Pei family was very popular, but the damage was not serious. After the private ownership of land, the old master of the Pei family bought the ancestral house and renovated it. Jiang Zhao said that if he went back to Jiangzhou next time, he would take her to see Jiang Rui's snow garden. It was a large house left by the grandfather of the Wen family. It was built with various styles of villas according to the family's preferences. But Snow Garden was different from the ancestral house of the Pei family. The Pei family had a very ancient Chinese-style building. In Yi Er's mind, the ancestral house should be like the ancient yard of the Qin family. The Qin family's antique yard looked very rich at first glance. She always felt that there was a deep cultural heritage in it, as if everything was a cultural relic. But when she arrived at the ancestral house of the Pei family, she still gave it a fierce shock. Compared with the Pei family, the Qin family's facade was too low-key. There was a tall and majestic roof with a plaque hanging on the lintel. The words, Pei Residence, were written fiercely and majestically. The vermilion lacquer door looked like the ancient palace doors on TV. There was a bronze tiger ring on the door. The two stone lions at the entrance revealed their ferocious glints and were awe-inspiring. The bluestone steps went up layer by layer. After a few steps, there was a thick and wide doorsill that was about a foot high. This facade was much bigger than the Qin family's. Yi Er was startled for a moment. He felt that they weren't going to enter a mansion. Were they going to enter a prince's mansion or the imperial palace? The thick red lacquer door opened with a creak. A middle-aged man in his 40s nodded his head. His movements were slow, and he didn't seem too eager. He was just being polite, neither servile nor overbearing. Yi Er crossed the threshold and the middle-aged man said to Pei Xianwen, "Sir, old master said that he's waiting for guests in Qin Garden." Pei Xianwen said, "Prepare some snacks and tea." I'll bring them over. The middle-aged man retreated. I'll go now. Yi Er knew that the Qin family had many rules. But seeing the way the servants of the Pei family spoke to their master, he suddenly felt that he had entered another Qin family. He felt tied up and extremely uncomfortable. Jiang Zhao didn't seem to be uncomfortable. He pulled on Yi Er's hand and asked in a low voice, "Do you know why grandfather wanted to arrange Fei Yu's marriage with the Pei family?" Yi Er didn't dare to speak too loudly, so she stretched her neck and leaned against Jiang Zhao's ear. She cupped her hands and whispered, "He's so rich." Jiang Zhao shook his head. Grandfather loves Fei Yu dearly. Even if it's a business marriage and he has to find a suitable match, he won't sacrifice Fei Yu for money. The Qin family doesn't lack money. Then why? Yi Er didn't understand. Jiang Zhao smiled faintly. The Pei family's upbringing is strict. Their children abide by the family rules. Grandfather feels that the children raised by such a family will know shame, know etiquette, respect the elders, protect the young, and not be licentious. He's afraid of marrying Fei Yu off to a hedonistic young master. I see. It was obvious that there were many rules. With so many rules, how could they not be strict? But grandfather's painstaking efforts, Fei Yu was so young. Would she be able to understand? They walked around the winding paths, of corridors, and halls. Yi Er felt that this was indeed a palace. If this house wasn't made of green bricks and tiles, but red walls and gold tiles, it would definitely be the Forbidden City. They walked around Qin Garden for nearly 20 minutes before they arrived. Fortunately, the garden was ever-changing under the lights. The fragrance of the flowers filled their nostrils and the sound of the spring water made it not lonely. Otherwise, if they walked alone for so long at night, they would definitely be scared of ghosts. They stepped through the circular arch of Qin Garden, passed the flower steps, and entered the main hall. An old man stood up from the main seat. He was dressed very similar to Qin Rongfang, but he was slightly chubbier. Although his hair was as white as Qin Rongfang's, it was cut very short. There seemed to be a layer of white snow on top of his head. This person was the old master of the Pei family, Pei Li. He clasped his hands together in front of Qin Rongyan, who had just entered. There was a string of prayer beads around his palms. His eyes were smiling. "You've worked hard." Qin Rongfang also clasped his fists the moment he saw Pei Li. His eyes were also smiling. They were very familiar. "Old friend, we meet again." Qin Rongfang let go of his clasped hands. The two old men shook hands. Pei Li pulled Qin Rongfang to the main seat beside him. "Old Qin, you've come a long way. Have a seat first." Then he walked back to his seat and sat down. Qin Rongfang said, "I was afraid to disturb you." "What are you saying?" "I'm old and useless. Since you're here, let's talk about health." The two of them laughed heartily. Jiang Zhao, Yi Er, and Shen Kai stood in the main hall obediently, waiting for the old man to finish speaking. Pei Li looked and fiddled with the prayer beads in his hands. He raised his hand and pointed to the guest seat. "Sit, sit." "Thank you, Grandfather Pei." The three of them respectfully sat down and didn't speak anymore. Pei Li glanced at Shen Kai. His pupils constricted. He looked at Jiang Zhao and Yi Er, then turned to look at Qin Rongfang. He pretended to be angry. "Are you bringing your grandson and granddaughter-in-law here to show off to me?" Qin Rongfang rolled his eyes at Pei Li. "What's there to show off for? When I invited you to Haiqing for the wedding banquet, you brought your family over to the country. I specially asked them to come over and serve you a cup of tea." At this moment, the servant came over with the teacups and teapot. Jiang Zhao pulled Yi Er up and walked to Pei Li. "Grandfather Pei, this is my wife, Yun Yi Er. It's the first time I've brought her to see you. Grandfather, please bear with her if she doesn't know any better. With that said, he led Yi Er to bow to Pei Li. Yi Er's eyes were sharp. When he saw the servant put down the teacups, he took the teapot from the servant's hands. Just like in the Qin family, he filled the 2 teacups on the main seat with water. Then, he handed the teapot back to the servant. He gave the first cup of tea to Pei Li and smiled faintly. "Grandfather Pei, have some tea." Okay. Ha. Pei Li took the teacup from Yi Er's hands and blew on the lid. Yi Er passed Qin Rongfang's tea over. "Grandfather, have some tea." Pei Li looked at Yi Er and smiled at Qin Rongfang. "You said you weren't here to show off. It would be strange if you weren't here to show off in front of me, someone who doesn't have a granddaughter-in-law. Look at your smug face." Qin Rongfang said, It's okay. You'll definitely have a granddaughter-in-law soon." Shen Kai knew that he couldn't go up and say anything at this time. Otherwise, he would ruin the atmosphere. However, it was a little awkward. It wasn't until Jiang Zhao turned around and gave him a look that he sat down and continued to wait. "Old friend, you know that I'm here this time." Qin Rongfang took a sip and put down the teacup. Pei Li's smile finally couldn't disappear. It darkened. "Old Qin, let's not talk about other things today. Granddaughter-in-law is here. Let's talk about something happy." Qin Rongfang gave Shen Kai a look. Shen Kai stood up and walked to the main hall. He bowed to Pei Li. "Grandfather Pei, my sister didn't know how to cause trouble. Originally, my grandfather wanted to come personally to apologize, but he suddenly fell ill and couldn't come. My father is also overseas. He just received the news and is rushing over. Now, I'm the eldest brother in the family. I hope Grandfather Pei can forgive me." Shen Kai bowed again. It was a very deep bow. Pei Li's fingers moved faster and faster. Seeing Shen Kai's gaze become sharper and sharper, Yi Er was nervous about the atmosphere. He secretly wiped the sweat on his forehead. "I think it's better to handle this matter impartially." Pei Li gritted his teeth as he said this. Shen Kai's back trembled. He straightened up and looked at Pei Li earnestly. "Grandfather Pei, the Shen family didn't educate Shen Xian well. We feel very guilty. Shen Xian should be punished for this matter, but she's still young. There are many opportunities for her to change. Since this mistake was caused by her, no matter what happens to Jincheng in the future, she should be the one to take care of him. The Shen family is willing to give a dowry of hundreds of billions to let Shen Xian marry Jincheng." "Bastard!" Pei Li slammed his hand on the table. The teacup on the table shook for a while. "Hundreds of billions. My grandson is worth hundreds of billions. I don't want a single cent. I want to handle this impartially." At this moment, Qin Rongfang stood up and pulled Pei Li. He said to Shen Kai, "Yi Er, and Jiang Zhao, go to the courtyard. I want to talk to your grandfather Pei for a while. Don't disturb us." Jiang Zhao pulled Shen Kai out of the door. Yi Er followed closely behind. When Shen Kai reached the garden outside, he let out a long breath and looked at the moon in the sky. Jiang Zhao patted Shen Kai's shoulder. "Calm down for a while." Shen Kai rubbed his temples. His lips trembled. I know. Once he thought about handling this matter impartially, Shen Kai felt a chill down his spine. He didn't dare to think about the consequences. Shen Xian was still so young. What if she went to prison? When Qin Rongfang saw that the juniors had left, he pulled Pei Li to sit down. He said sincerely, "Old friend, don't be fierce with me. Let me say a few more words. If you don't feel comfortable, no matter who it is, they won't feel comfortable. But think about it. If that girl marries Jincheng and she takes care of him, won't she be punished even more? Moreover, in the future, we can think of a way to artificially inseminate that girl and give birth to a child for Jincheng. If this were to happen to other daughters of similar social status, I'm afraid no one would be willing. Pei looked at Qin Rongfang in disbelief. The resolute light in his eyes wavered for a moment. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 688. Shen Kai, Jiang Zhao, and Yi Er stood in the garden for almost an hour. Later, a servant went out of Qin garden, but Qin Rongfang and Pei didn't come out from the main hall. It wasn't until a series of footsteps came from outside the arched door of Qin garden that the three of them looked in the direction of the sound. Shen Xian. You little bee asterisk starred. Yi Er heard Shen Kai gritting his teeth and choking on his sobs. Then, his gaze fell on the woman who was being hugged by the three servants. Even though he knew that Shen Xian was the #1 beauty in Haiqing and had seen some blurry photos of her, he had never had a face-to-face interaction with her. Although Yi Er was also a woman and Shen Xian was a little messy at the moment, Yi Er was still stunned by her beauty. She had a thin sweater draped over her shoulders, and her long black hair reached the middle of her back. Skinny jeans wrapped around her long, straight legs, and a pair of shallow high-heeled silver spring shoes elongated the instep of her feet, making her legs look even longer. Her beautiful eyebrows were as soft as water, her nose was straight but not sharp, and her chin was small but not overly sharp. Her face was like a wintersweet that suddenly bloomed in the snowy north, a cluster of peonies that suddenly bloomed in a place where wildflowers covered the mountains, or a bunch of clear lotuses that suddenly appeared in a place filled with hibiscus. There was always a kind of beauty that stood out from the rest and immediately distinguished her from others. It was unforgettable. When Shen Xian saw Shen Kai, her eyes suddenly welled up with tears, and she suddenly had an urge to take pity on her. Because of Shen Xian's beauty, Yi Er took a deep breath and glanced at Jiang Zhao beside him. Jiang Zhao's expression seemed normal. Shen Xian pulled Shen Xian into his arms and scolded fiercely, "You troublemaker, are you the F***king reincarnation of Sun Wukong? You won't stop until you poke a hole in the sky, will you?" When Shen Xian entered Qin garden, Yi Er did not notice that her eyes were red and swollen, which meant that she had not cried. But at this time, she fell into Shen Kai's arms, tightly clutched the back of Shen Kai's clothes, and burst into tears. She gasped for breath, as if she could not catch her breath. "Brother, brother, brother." Shen Xian's heart clenched. His eyes were red as he freed his hands from Shen Xian and slapped Shen Xian's buttocks twice. "You little bastard." Shen Xian cried even harder. "Brother, I killed someone, I killed someone." Shen Kai was stunned. He shook Shen Xian's shoulder and said, "Little girl, little girl." Shen Xian looked at Shen Kai with pain in her eyes. Her body trembled like a sieve. "Brother, I killed someone, I killed someone." Her 10 fingers were like water and scallions. She raised them in front of Shen Kai and flipped them back and forth as if she was in a trance. "Brother, I just took that bottle and threw it at him. Brother, I didn't mean to. I just wanted to teach him a lesson. I just couldn't stand him. I didn't want to kill him." Shen Xian was scared, guilty, panicked, and lost. All kinds of emotions hit her as if she was about to collapse. Her eyes were hazy and unfocused. "Brother, he just fell down in front of me. Brother, he is only 26 years old. He is still so young. His life is over. Brother, I killed someone. Brother, should I pay with my life?" Shen Kai could not bear to scold her anymore. He grabbed Shen Xian's hands tightly. Little girl, listen to me. He is seriously injured, Shen Xian quivered. He's not dead. No, then how is he? Will he be in danger? Brother, I can't sleep. When I close my eyes, I see that I killed someone. He falls down in front of me hundreds of times every day. Brother, he is only 26 years old. Shen Xian had not cried since the moment she heard Shen Kai. She had been holding it in. But when she saw Shen Kai, all her panic, uneasiness, guilt, and self-blame had a place to go. She was crying and pleading. It was as if she was a different person from her usual self. Yi Er thought that if she had a brother like Shen Kai, how good would it be? How good would it be? Even if she was slapped countless times and called a little bastard countless times. Jiang Zhao's gaze did not fall on the Shen siblings like Yi Er. Instead, he looked into the hall. Pei Li looked at the scene in the courtyard. He clenched the prayer beads in his hands so tightly that his fingernails turned pale. Qin Rongfang stood at the side and sighed. Pei Li turned around and walked back to the main seat. Qin Rongfang followed him. If what that girl said is her true thoughts, it means that she is not a bad person. She knows how to feel guilty and knows that she has done something wrong. She is not like many children who only know how to ask their family members to think of ways to not go to jail. Pei Li did not want to think this way. But as Qin Rongfang said, if Jin Cheng became a vegetable, his life would be over. Shen Xian was the murderer. She should take care of Jin Cheng to atone for her crime. Qin Rongfang nodded. How old is she? I'm afraid she is scared out of her wits. How can she lie at this time? Yes. Pei Li said to the servant beside him, Shan, go and call them in. Everyone else in the hall was sitting in their seats. Shen Xian was the only one standing there. She was all alone, like a beautiful hibiscus flower with an unstable foundation that had bloomed on a bare mountain wall. When the wind blew, it would be uprooted or cut in half at the waist. Yi Er felt sympathy for her, but could only watch quietly. Jiang Zhao told her to watch more, to experience, to feel, and to understand. Eggmen followed. When Shen Xian threw the bottle at Pei Jincheng, she must not have thought that such a big thing would happen. It takes two to tango. If Shen Xian was really looking for trouble, her guilt today would be too fake. But if she was not, then Pei Jincheng should also be at fault. But Pei Jincheng also did not think that he would attract Shen Xian's bottle and become a vegetable. Endure everything. Not be angry. Not complain. Learn all these. Pei Li looked at Shen Xian, who had calmed down after leaving Shen Kai's arms. His tone was cold. Do you know that Jin Qing is now a vegetable? I'm sorry. Shen Xian said in a low voice, I am willing to accept the punishment of the law. Shen Kai was so angry that he wanted to stand up immediately, but Jiang Zhao held him down. Pei Li frowned. He did not want to, but he still said it. If I asked you to take care of Jin Qing for a lifetime, would you be willing? Shen Xian suddenly looked up. A lifetime? Yes, if I asked you to marry a vegetable to atone for your sins, would you be willing? Shen Xian only felt that her ears were buzzing, and the pictures in her mind were all over the place. She looked more and more dazed. Although she had not shed tears before, there were bloody teeth marks on her lips. She must have bitten them herself. At this time, she bit her lower lip again. She didn't know how to live with a person who had no feelings for her. However, this was a 26-year-old man who was so handsome that the women in the nightclub shrieked in shock. He was a high-spirited man with a prominent family background. Just because she didn't like what he said, she knocked him over with a bottle, ending his glorious life forever. Pei Li looked unhappy and snorted. You still don't want to? Jiang Zhao held Shen Kai's arm tightly, not allowing him to be agitated. Shen Xian looked up and fixed her eyes on Pei Li. There was no sorrow, no bitterness, and no compromise in her eyes. There was only a firm commitment. I'm willing. I'm willing to take care of him for a lifetime to make up for my mistakes. I'll work like a cow or a horse. I won't regret it. Shen Xian felt relieved. As long as Shen Xian did not go to jail, nothing mattered. Shen Xian's eyes were so clear and bright that Pei Li was momentarily moved. If it were not for Shen Xian's young age, he would have thought that this was a deliberate expression made by an experienced person. After Jiang Zhao and the others settled down in Flowing Water Garden, Pei Xianwen and Pei Li quarreled in Qin Garden. Dad! You don't care about our feelings at all. You let Jean Cheng's murderer marry him. You're stabbing a knife into my heart. Pei Xianwen supported himself on the table and could not stand steadily. Yes, he did not agree. He firmly disagreed. If he could not punish the murderer, he would not be satisfied even if he died. Pei Li fiddled with the prayer beads to stabilize his breathing. Xianwen, do you think I was willing to do this? It's not that I'm soft-hearted because I'm a Buddhist. I also want to seek justice for Jean Cheng, but think about it yourself. Isn't Jean Cheng in the wrong? Pei Xianwen said angrily, the law doesn't care about that. Shen Xian should go to jail for causing Jean Cheng to end up like this. Pei Li retorted, let me tell you, even if Jean Cheng has to lie in bed for the rest of his life, he must have his own child. But think about it carefully. Jean Cheng has become a vegetable. I'm afraid that no family of equal social status will be willing to marry their daughter to him. All of this is caused by Shen Xian. She must complete the task of getting Jean Cheng pregnant. Pei Xianwen said angrily, I'm going to buy a daughter-in-law for Jean Cheng to undergo artificial insemination. I will never let Jean Cheng's murderer bear his child. Nonsense. What if something happens after you buy the daughter-in-law? Can the child not have a mother? Shen Xian can't. She must take care of Jean Cheng for the rest of his life. Pei Xianwen's voice finally lowered. Won't anything happen if she takes care of Jean Cheng? What if she won't. That child isn't that bad. Dad, you're too soft-hearted. Shen Xian curled up in Shen Kai's arms and slept. From the beginning, she was shivering, to becoming more and more stable. Shen Kai kept patting her back. His lips were already dry, but he was still saying, it's okay, it's okay. Jiang Zhao saw that Shen Kai's door was ajar. He gently knocked, then pushed the door open and went in. He sighed softly, poured a glass of water, and handed it to Shen Kai, who was lying on the bed with his sister resting on his arm. Jiang Zhao watched as Shen Kai raised his head and drank the glass of water. Then, he handed the glass back to him. If Shen Xian hadn't gotten into this situation, I wouldn't have known that you're such an anxious person. Jiang Zhao smiled bitterly. I actually hope that you'll never know that I'm such an anxious person. I only have one sister. What can I do? Shen Kai's voice was very soft. If I had known that this would happen, I wouldn't have doted on her since she was young. I would have beaten her up since she was young. Then, she wouldn't have dared to cause trouble. Thinking about how his sister was going to marry a vegetable, Shen Kai could only swallow his words. He looked at Jiang Zhao, who was still looking for him at such a late hour. This time, when we go back to High City, I'll search for the family Ouyang's information and give it to you as soon as possible. I won't leave out anything. Awesome novel. Hongcha 866. Chapter 689. Jiang Zhao smiled embarrassedly. Looking at how you're working so hard for Shen Xian, why do I feel like I'm taking advantage of her when she's down? How can that be the same? Shen Xian is my sister. The Shen family owes her a favor. I can't possibly not repay it. Shen Xian wanted to pull his arm out and let Shen Xian sleep on her own. However, when he moved, Shen Xian couldn't help but be startled. Then, in a daze, she reached out and grabbed onto his clothes tightly. Jiang Zhao pressed his palms together. Don't move. This girl was so scared that she couldn't sleep last night. She only dares to sleep now that you're by her side. This matter isn't entirely due to my grandfather's efforts. The conditions you offered were indeed good. Grandfather Pei is also a thoughtful person. He didn't make such a decision to give anyone face. If he wasn't willing, I think that even if we talked our heads off, it wouldn't have worked. Jiang Zhao, you're always like this. You make it sound like you're advocating for the greater good. In the end, I still have to give you what you deserve. It's not wrong to say that you're a fox. You flatter me. There are many foxes in Haiqing. I'm just an inconspicuous one. Jiang Zhao looked at Shen Xian and laughed softly. He simply sat down on a chair and started chatting with Shen Kai. You're too humble. Shen Kai wasn't in the mood to joke. Sigh. Anyway, I'll give you all the information on the family Ouyang when we get back. You can do it yourself. I'm not in the mood to think about other things. I know how you feel. It's fine as long as the Han family is appeased. Shen Kai sighed. Sigh. I'm just afraid that it won't be enough. That little brat from the Han family likes our little rascal so much that he's crazy. Otherwise, he would have broken off the engagement long ago. It's just that Han Chiang refuses. Otherwise, that little rascal wouldn't have been causing trouble and trying to ruin his reputation. Han Chiang is pretty good. Why does Shen Xian look down on him? Jiang Zhao was puzzled. The corner of Shen Kai's mouth twitched speechlessly. You don't know. She said that Han Chiang was too good-looking, with a pair of peach blossom eyes that seduced women. He actually attracted flies, and when he got married in the future, he would definitely be a playboy. In the end, she didn't like the mediocre ones. In short, she didn't like them. She said she didn't like them. Jiang Zhao only said one word, go ahead. If I didn't do it, would this have happened? Now, she still has to marry a good-looking man. Moreover, it's a good-looking man who can't move in bed. Now that she's married, such a man will be honest. It's impossible for him to go out and seduce women. It's really worry-free. Shen Kai shook his head and smiled bitterly. If it weren't for Shen Xian's situation, I would have been amused by your words. You're really something. There's no other way. I'll get you a glass of water and put it on your bedside table. If you want to drink it later, you can get it yourself. Thank you. Pei Jincheng's mother, Ji Rong, was a traditional woman. She didn't participate in the family's decision-making, but she still couldn't accept the fact that her son was in a vegetative state. Her attitude was the same as Pei Xinwen's. She couldn't accept Shen Xian marrying into the Pei family. Father, tell me, is it because of the dowry? Is it because our Pei family swallowed it down our throat worth that much money? Pei Li looked at his eldest daughter-in-law. After a long while, he closed his eyes and sat motionlessly on the main seat. However, the prayer beads in his hand were moving very quickly. When he moved the prayer beads, they seemed to be trembling because of the speed. After a while, Pei Li opened his mouth faintly. His voice wasn't loud, but it was soul-stirring. I'm not dead yet. In this family, I still have the final say, and I must have the final say. I've made this decision, and it's not to be refuted or disobeyed. You just need to carry it out. You don't need to ask for the reason, and I don't need to give you any explanation. When Jincheng's health indicators are stable, pick a good day and hold a grand wedding. Ji Rong collapsed weakly in Pei Xinwen's arms. She looked at the old man who was still counting prayer beads with his eyes closed. She covered her mouth and didn't dare to cry out loud. The next morning after breakfast, they accompanied the Pei family to the hospital to see Pei Jincheng. There was a large glass wall outside the ICU ward. Yi Er stood beside Jiang Zhao. She just couldn't believe it. In fact, she couldn't see what the man inside looked like. However, the tubes all over his body made her feel sad. She hated places like the hospital. It was a place where people were sent back and forth from the gates of hell. Shen Xian stood quietly in front of the glass. She placed her hand on the glass and looked at the man lying motionless on the bed. Shen Xian patted her gently on the shoulder. Shen Xian sniffled almost inaudibly. "Brother, did you see that? Actually, he and I don't have any deep hatred. We're not close. His originally brilliant life was ruined by my hands. Brother, I regret it very much, really. I owe him, and I can't repay him in this lifetime. I also owe the Pei family, and I can't repay them." Shen Kai's back stiffened. Shen Xian spoke slowly and calmly. "Brother, don't be sad. I didn't feel wronged at all. This is what I deserve." Shen Kai took a shaky breath and turned around. His sister's tone made him have an impulse to go crazy. Shen Xian came from a good family and was beautiful. Everyone held her in high regard. She was the only daughter in the family. As a result, her temper was very strong. Usually, she didn't know how to think for others and did what she wanted to do. The Han family's marriage alliance was something that happened when she was young. Ever since she became sensible, she had been making a fuss about breaking off the engagement. She had never cared about the awkwardness of it. The last time Ouyang Yan came to look for him, he even said that Ouyang Yan was the one who dumped Zhang Zhao, so why was she being so arrogant now? Thinking about it, she was really as annoying as Ouyang Yan. Shen Xian was also not easy to deal with. She was unhappy and wanted to break off the engagement. She didn't care about the family matters at all. These 2 years, she made more and more trouble, and he followed behind her to clean up the mess. Now, he felt that Ouyang Yan was annoying. But even if Shen Xian did the same thing, he couldn't hate her. He only felt sorry for her. After all, acne on other people's faces didn't make people worry. Only when needles pricked one's body did they know the pain. He remembered that a reporter asked a celebrity what kind of partner she wanted. The celebrity said that it was a man who could move. A man who couldn't even move on the bed, could he still be called a man? Shen Kai felt a ball of fire burning in his heart. His ears were filled with Shen Xian's comforting words. "Brother, don't be sad. I didn't feel wronged at all. This is what I deserve." Damn, she finally grew up. She finally knew that her mistakes made her family sad. But the price was too damn high. Paley was a person who had killed his way through the ups and downs of the business world. In his early years, he was still a little vicious. When he was 50 years old, he realized that his shortcomings were too obvious. So, he concentrated on studying Buddhism and cultivating his mind. So, after 50 years old, although his methods were not as fast and ruthless as when he was young, there was still strength in his softness. In the Qin family, Qin Rongfang had already given power to Qin Fian. He slowly handed over his own things to his grandson. It was different from the Qin family. The Pei family was like a kingdom in the south. The supreme king held great power, and his decisions on major matters were never disrupted by others. That king was Pei Li. He was slightly fat and dressed in Chinese clothes. The roots of his hair were very light, as if covered with a layer of snowflakes. He held the Buddha beads and fiddled with them gently. He looked kind and low-key. But at this time, he was staring at Shen Xian with a sharp gaze. Among the people present, only Qin Rongfang noticed his complicated gaze. Before they walked out of the hospital, Pei Li called out to Shen Xian. Shen Xian was like a child who had made a mistake. She put away her original sharpness and stood respectfully in front of Pei Li. Although Jincheng is now in a vegetative state, from the moment you married into the Pei family, you are no longer Miss Shen of the Shen family. You are the daughter-in-law of the Pei family. Everything that originally belonged to Jincheng should be taken care of by you. This is your responsibility and obligation. Do you understand? Shen Xian raised her head and clenched her fists tightly. She looked at the old man who was fiddling with the Buddha beads. She was afraid, but she nodded firmly. I will do my best. I hope grandfather will nurture me. If I do anything wrong, I hope grandfather will forgive me. Paley seemed to be satisfied. Okay. With a sound, he walked past Shen Xian and walked out. Shen Xian knew that from this moment on, her life was no longer surnamed Shen. She wanted to live for someone else. When she lowered her head, 2 drops of water fell on the floor. It was like a big splash. She raised her hand to wipe her eyes and walked out resolutely. Yi Er and Jiang Zhao returned to Haiqing. Both of them were immersed in their own work. Jiang Zhao had asked Zhua how to use his connections to find a retired soldier to be Yi Er's bodyguard. He couldn't stop Yi Er from working, but safety was the most important thing. Yi Er had to work. She had to work. She couldn't always rely on Jiang Zhao. Now, her entire family was dependent on Jiang Zhao. To be honest, even if Jiang Zhao raised 20 more people, her family could still afford it. She knew that Jiang Zhao had 2 very profitable companies. This feeling was very strange. In the past, it wasn't very strong. Jiang Zhao liked to use the method of raising her to show his male chauvinism. However, after Zhou swiped more than 3 million yuan from her card, Yi Er was completely enraged. If Zhou had spent her own money, it would have been fine. However, it was all Jiang Zhao's money. Even if it was work, Yi Er still couldn't do without Jiang Zhao. She thought carefully about the business advice that Xiaoye had told her before. In the end, she told Jiang Zhao to find out if there were any talent shows. It would be best if it was a national Latin dance competition or a celebrity's national Latin dance competition. She needed a dance partner. This way, her dance studio could provide contestants and teachers. Anyway, her teachers were very qualified. They weren't just for show. If she could become famous, she could become a judge in the future. She could rely on her name to make a living. Jiang Zhao quickly found a program for her. However, it wasn't a provincial program. It was a city program. This way, the viewership ratings would only be limited to the province. However, since it was her first time in the industry, it was a very good treatment to be able to be listed on the TV station. When Yi Er was fully immersed in her work preparations, Jiang Zhao felt that Yi Er had suddenly come back to life. She wasn't dead like before. Instead, it was as if another layer of petals had bloomed. It was very dazzling. Seeing Yi Er like this, Jiang Zhao was a little touched. He then asked Qin Fian to come to his office. Fian, in another 4 months, you should invest in a program at the provincial TV station. It's the same as the Dance Forest that TV station 2 is doing now. It's not convenient for me to do it personally. I'll pay for it. Let Yunyi bring her people to participate first. Of course, the champion must be guaranteed to be Yunyi. After 2 rounds of this, she can become a judge in the future and raise her status. Brother, I realize that this method is a little similar to how Qiu Xiaoye became famous. Qin Fian sat on Jiang Zhao's desk and smiled mischievously. Why did you mention Xiaoye? There were so many ways to become famous. Only Qiu Xiaoye was allowed to use that method to become famous. Moreover, he didn't think there was a problem. Qin Fian said meaningfully, Brother, you actually know that Qiu Xiaoye is with Yichen, right? I only found out a while ago. He hid it for a long time. When I asked him, he didn't allow me to tell anyone. I don't know what he's thinking. Jiang Zhao glared at Qin Fian. I'm talking to you about serious matters now. I'm talking to you about serious matters too. Qin Fian turned sideways and looked at Jiang Zhao, who was going to get the file. He said earnestly, you have to know that sister-in-law is not Qiu Xiaoye. Qiu Xiaoye is Yichen's underground prostitute. Sister-in-law is your legitimate wife. You can't make sister-in-law the center of attention like Qiu Xiaoya. Jiang Zhao felt that Qin Fian was really pedantic. He had thought it through now. Yi Er's fame wouldn't affect him much. Why not? Yun Yi is still young. She wants to show her value. She feels that this process is very happy. I think she should take advantage of the enthusiasm now to pursue her dreams. Qin Fian's ability to add fuel to the fire was increasing day by day. And then, after she becomes famous, will you let people talk about your wife at tea parties and after meals? He snorted. Brother, you're not such a generous person. Let me tell you, when you go on those shows to dance, look at what those women are wearing. Latin, rumba, cha-cha, tango. Anyway, just look at them. When they spin in a circle, they're showing off their tights. They're even hugging your wife and spinning, lifting her up, hugging her. Qin Fian didn't see the change in Jiang Zhao's expression. His gaze became more and more uncomfortable. He continued, let me tell you, I didn't agree with sister-in-law opening this dance studio. But since she's already opened it, it doesn't matter if she's the boss. In fact, it's enough to make a little money. Don't think about making her famous. People in the arts like to say that they pursue the harmony of the soul. Just wait and see. If there's a spark between them while dancing, it'll be too late for you to cry. What nonsense are you talking about? Your sister-in-law is not that kind of woman. Don't add fuel to the fire. Jiang Zhao took the file and ignored Qin Fian. He simply sat on the sofa in the reception room and flipped through it slowly, leaving Qin Fian alone at the desk. You still don't believe me? Qin Fian wouldn't let go of a chance to make Jiang Zhao repent. Hey. He hurried to the reception area and sat on the sofa on the other side. Brother, don't blame me for not reminding you. Let me tell you, those duet groups, those pair figure skating groups, and don't even talk about those national dance groups. They're all in the name of pursuing art. On the road to pursuing art, they eat their partners into their stomachs. The people I'm talking about in this field are quite a lot of people who get married and have extramarital affairs, right? Beauty Novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 690. Jiang Zhao did not say anything, but Qin Fian was very anxious. Don't talk about office romance. Love can develop over time, let alone a man and a woman hugging each other and doing some difficult moves. I asked you to hug a beautiful woman and practice dancing for a few hours every day. Try it. Don't you have any reaction at all? Fine, you don't have any reaction now. You have sister-in-law. Qin Fian deliberately helped Jiang Zhao. But what about before you had sister-in-law? Do you dare to pat your chest and say that you definitely wouldn't have any reaction? Let me tell you, in order to practice those wonderful dances, sometimes you need to do some difficult moves, such as throwing, lifting, or large spins. These are not things that can be done with skill alone. You have to put your life and safety in the other party's hands. This requires a lot of tacit understanding between partners. Brother, touch your conscience and tell me, are you willing to let sister-in-law reach that level of tacit understanding with another man? Even her life and safety in the hands of that man without any hesitation. This kind of competition takes 4 months at the municipal level, and the provincial level takes even longer. For such a long time, you let sister-in-law reach that level of tacit understanding with another man every day, and in the end, she became the champion. Can you really continue to watch? How could Jiang Zhao continue to watch the dossier? Watch my ass. His mood of wanting to create a blue sky for Yi Er was completely ruined. When he was talking to Yi Er, it was clearly an art to show the concept of beauty. Now, when it came out of Qin Fian's mouth, it became a filthy scene. He wavered, brother, listen to me. You really can't make sister-in-law as famous as Xiao Yiqiu. Moreover, they are in different fields. Even if Xiao becomes famous, there won't be any male partners. That's why Yi Chen is willing to let her become famous and let her have her way. But how can sister-in-law do this kind of competition dance alone? You like to keep everything to yourself. If something really goes wrong in the future, you will definitely regret it. Qin Fian kindly advised again. Jiang Zhao rolled his eyes at him and looked down at the file in his hand. However, the words on the file had all been blurred out. It showed men and women hugging and dancing together. During the climax of the music, the man threw the woman up and spun her around. It was frightening to watch, as if the woman was going to be thrown out of the man's hands. However, the woman was calm and composed, as if she did not feel the danger at all. The two of them communicated silently with their eyes. The music came to an end. The two of them hugged each other tightly, their necks intertwined. The music paused for more than 10 seconds, and the two of them had to smile happily on the stage and hold hands to express their gratitude during the curtain call. When I receive the award, I have to thank my partner. He understands me very well. He was the one who accompanied me all the way here. When we trained together. In short, he said a lot of pretentious words. Jump my ass. Don't jump. There was no room for discussion. Yes, Fei Yan was right. He wouldn't be so generous as to give his wife to another man. Qingfeng Garden. Qiu Shaoye sat obediently on the sofa, sneezing again and again. Her ears were burning. She wondered who missed her so much. Zhuang Yichen never expected that Shaoye's parents would come to Qingfeng Garden even though it wasn't the weekend. Usually, he didn't come over during the weekend because father and mother Qiu would come over to help Qiu Shaoye tidy up the house. Today, he was really cursed. He bumped into them just as he was about to leave. The few of them stood in the living room. Father Qiu was a little nervous. He didn't look at Zhuang Yichen. He felt that this man's aura was too strong and he wasn't used to it. Mother Qiu, on the other hand, looked at Zhuang Yichen carefully. Auntie. Boss Qiu's boyfriend? Mother Qiu asked directly. Zhuang Yichen looked a little awkward. Shaoye scratched her head and interrupted, Mrs. Qiu, my colleague. I'm here to deliver a document. Zhuang Yichen nodded in agreement. He was still polite. Yes, I'm here to deliver a document to Xiao. Xiaoya. He was used to calling Qiu Xiaoyao by her nickname. It wasn't strange for him to call her by such a pretentious nickname. Oh, I see. Mother Qiu looked at Zhuang Yichen and sneered. She slyly pretended not to understand and asked, how come I didn't know that Xiaoya is working at Xingchen International now? She's the CEO's secretary now. But President Zhuang is much better looking than the picture on the cover of the finance magazine. After the compliment, her eyes shone with satisfaction. Xiaoye looked up and sighed. Oh no, Mrs. Qiu had taken a liking to Zhuang Yichen. Mrs. Qiu's research scope was too broad. She actually read finance magazines. Was she looking for inspirational stories again? Zhuang Yichen was stunned for half a second before he came back to his senses. Oh, that's what I was thinking. Xingchen International also wants to enter the clothing industry. They want to invite Xiaoye to join them. President Zhuang, are you close to Xiaoye? Mother Qiu was a cunning old fox. Or should I call her Miss Qiu or something? Xiaoye. That's quite close. When it came to business, one had to deal with whatever came their way. However, Zhuang Yichen was not prepared for such a situation. He wanted to put aside his pride and ask Xiaoye for help. Xiaoye seemed to understand and pulled Mother Qiu to sit on the sofa. Mom, it's not like you don't know that I do private customization. The clothes I make are all for people like President Zhuang. It's not strange that they know me for a long time. Oh, that's all. Mother Chiu looked at Zhuang Yichen again. Zhuang Yichen nodded. That's all. Oh. Oh, Mama Chiu said again, seemingly relieved. Zhuang Yichen was about to leave when Mama Chiu suddenly said to Xiaoya, "Your father and I are here today to drag you to the wedding." Married? Apart from Mother Chiu, everyone else in the room was stunned. Father Chiu was also stunned. However, he was sitting in an inconspicuous position and Mother Chiu's words had completely attracted Zhuang Yichen's attention. Therefore, he did not notice his sudden panic. Mother Chiu acted as though she did not see Zhuang Yichen. "Since you are always looking down on this and that, I will make the decision." Xiaoya felt that she had 8 lifetimes of bad luck to have provoked such a difficult mother. She was not old, but her mother, who had nothing to do, actually racked her brains every day to find a man for her. "Mom, I've said it before. I don't look like I lack a man." Mother Chiu comforted her calmly and said earnestly, "Yanji, I told you that I look like I lack a son-in-law. I am in a huge debt now. Who would want me? Do you think I have hundreds of thousands of yuan? Do you think I can get it just by casually searching my bag?" Mother Chiu suddenly said. Mother Chiu slapped her thigh. "Hey, you don't say. I found you a man who patted his chest and promised to pay off your debt." A bald old man. Chiu Xiaoya only dared to think this way. Mother Chiu raised her eyebrows and described the man proudly. Young, tall, handsome and rich. Xiaoya smiled awkwardly. "Mom, have you changed your career to writing romance novels?" Mother Chiu gave Xiaoya a shove. "Get lost. That was my dream when I was young. I don't have the energy to do that now. I have to worry about your marriage." Xiaoya thought to herself, "You really dare to climb up just because you're given a vine." "Mom, marriage is a big deal. You have to spend more time thinking about it. That's why I spent a lot of time thinking about it for you. I stayed up all night helping you research. It's not enough for a good man to just be rich. He has to be good-looking. It's not enough to just be rich and good-looking. He has to be cultured. It's not enough to just be rich and good-looking." Xiaoya's shoulders drooped weakly as she raised her head and said, "We have to have parents-in-law who are easy to get along with. It's not enough to be rich, good-looking, and cultured. We have to be considerate, tolerant, filial, and romantic." After Xiaoya finished reciting, she looked dispirited and helpless. She looked like she was about to cry as she said, "Mom, you should go and write. You'll definitely do something. Really, you'll definitely achieve more than worrying about your daughter's marriage." Zhuang Yichen wanted to turn around and leave because the people here obviously didn't care about him. He had always had a strong presence. However, after confirming that he wasn't Xiaoya's boyfriend, Mother Chiu didn't even look at him. Instead, she kept promoting other men to Xiaoya. As if rooted to the ground, Zhuang Yichen was in an awkward situation. He was afraid that he would be suspicious if he stayed any longer, so Zhuang Yichen said politely, "Uncle, Auntie, I will leave first." Okay. Take care." Mother Chiu's voice was full of enthusiasm. However, her eyes fell on Xiaoya and dropped another bomb. "Hurry up and pack up. Yiyun has been waiting for too long. He said that you don't want to see him. He wants to marry you this time. If you say so, he will marry you immediately. He will help you pay off the debt. How is it? Young, right? Tall, right? Handsome, right? Rich, right? Not?" Xiaoya's eyes suddenly widened. Her voice trembled. "Mom. Don't joke around." Zhuang Yichen, who had just walked to the door, paused again. He heard Xiaoya's voice suddenly change in pitch. It suddenly rose and fell. In her incredulous tone, there was a strong sense of anticipation and unexpected loneliness. Kang Yun. Kang Yun proposed to Xiaoya. Last time in the wardrobe, he saw how Mother Chiu wanted to marry Xiaoya off. He didn't think it was a joke. His hand that was already holding the door handle couldn't press it down. However, he held the door handle tightly. After he let go, he turned around and looked at Xiaoya. Xiaoya, what about your promise to attend the new company's meeting in an hour? Xiaoya looked up and saw Zhuang Yichen's pleasant face. However, her eyes were full of tyranny. How should she say it? This was a question with no choice. I will go right away. I will go when the proposal is ready. President Zhuang, I think the meeting should be delayed for half an hour. You can only focus on your work after this important matter is solved. Mother Chiu smiled. She stood up and politely discussed with Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen stood there motionless. He didn't look like there was anything wrong with it. Instead, his outstanding temperament covered up his displeasure. Auntie, it's not right for more than a dozen people to wait for one person. Moreover, many of them came from other cities for the meeting. Some of them have already booked return tickets. If the company's interests are lost, I'm afraid that the interests of the employees will be affected in the future. Mother Chiu lowered her head and thought for a while. When she looked up, she was still in a dilemma. Okay, you should hurry to the meeting. I will discuss it with Yun. Anyway, the Civil Affairs Bureau closes at 5:30. Go ahead. Don't delay your work. Zhuang Yichen's eyebrows twitched, but he still smiled like a gentleman. Xiaoya, follow me to the company. After the meeting, we can solve this important matter as soon as possible. Xiaoya could feel Zhuang Yichen's anger. Zhuang Yichen was not a very patient person. If he hid a knife behind his smile, it meant that she was going to be in trouble. As expected, the silver Bugatti shot out of the neighborhood like an arrow. Xiaoya sat upright in the assistant seat. Zhuang Yichen glanced at her. Aren't you going to explain to me? Ah. Xiaoya seemed to have suddenly come back to her senses. What? This B***-starred woman actually didn't know what he was talking about. Was she blinded by the news of her marriage? Don't you need to explain to me about Kang Yun? Xiaoya spoke out of habit. Since when do I need to explain to you about my matters? When he stepped on the brakes, the car stopped by the roadside. Xiaoya rushed forward. Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen leaned over and pressed down on her. He opened his large palms and grabbed Xiaoya's butt between his thumb and index finger. He pinched it with 2 fingers and lifted it towards himself. He gritted his teeth and said, "Little demon Chiu, what kind of attitude is that when you talk to me?" Xiaoya frowned. Her mouth hurt, but she refused to admit defeat. What kind of attitude do you want? I asked you to explain to me about Kang Yun. She had been with him almost every day for the past few days. What was going on with her marriage with Kang Yun? When did Kang Yun go to look for her mother? Why did she suddenly have to register? She was too timing. She dared. I said I don't need to explain. Why should I explain to you? I won't explain to you. Good, good. Very good. Zhuang Yichen angrily opened the car door beside Xiaoya and released the seatbelt. Get out of the car. Xiaoya was stunned for a moment. Zhuang Yichen's slender eyes turned into blades. He was already sitting upright and shouted, "Get out of the car." Xiaoya let out a long breath. She closed her eyes and opened them. She glared at Zhuang Yichen and pushed the car door open. Just as her feet touched the ground, Zhuang Yichen's voice sounded ruthlessly. Little demon Chiu, you'd better not provoke me. You can't afford to provoke me. You can settle Kang Yun's matter yourself. Otherwise, I won't let any of the scum related to you off. Xiaoya's back trembled. A gust of cold air froze her spine. When she clenched her fists, her breath was trembling. She turned around and glared at Zhuang Yichen. She gritted her teeth and said angrily, "Zhuang Yichen, you're getting more and more involved now. You've really stretched your hands too far. We've already agreed not to interfere with each other's business." The man leaned back in his seat. The sunlight shone on him, and his handsome face was sharp. His eyes were cold as he looked at the traffic coming and going in front of him. He directly ignored Xiaoya's words of not interfering with each other and parting on good terms. He sneered coldly, with a spirit that looked down on everything. "Oh, my hands are long. I can stretch them as long as I want. What can you do? What can Kang Yun do?" Xiaoya suddenly regretted. Why did she think that Zhuang Yichen was a good prostitute? Why did she think that he was a good person? He was a bastard. Beauty novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 691. When Yi Er found out that her name had been removed from the list, she was at a loss. How could this be? She was supposed to be part of the competition and Jiang Zhao had promised her. How could she suddenly become a mentor and act behind the scenes? She called Jiang Zhao and felt wronged. "Hubby, my name has been removed." "So what if it's removed?" "It's not a big deal." "What do you mean it's not a big deal?" "It's obviously a very big deal." "How big of a deal?" "You still need to go to school." "How can you have so much time? Don't you need to go to school? The college entrance exams are coming up in a few months. Are you ready? Are you still in the mood to do this?" Yi Er suddenly felt that Jiang Zhao's tone was not right. "Jiang Zhao, did you do it on purpose? Tell me, did you do it?" "What do you mean by on purpose?" "You personally gave the order. Who has the guts to remove my name from the list? Tell me, who is it? If they find out who it is, won't you help me deal with it?" Yi Er was not stupid. With Jiang Zhao's personality, how could he tolerate someone going against him like this? Jiang Zhao was the one who gave the order and the name list had already been confirmed. How could Jiang Zhaohui not know about the sudden change? Everything else aside, at least Jiang Zhao's name had to be removed from the list. He had to be informed. However, Jiang Zhao said calmly, "If you want to withdraw, then so be it." Jiang Zhao could not stand Yi Er's questioning. "Yes, it was me. I was the one who asked it to be removed. I felt that you should not take part in the competition. Anyway, your dance studio will benefit from it. What are you afraid of? Do you have to be famous? What's the point of being famous? It's the same as being a boss. You have good mentors. If they become famous, it's the same if your dance studio becomes famous. How can it be the same? How can it be different? Do I have to stand in the middle of the stage and receive applause and flowers to be considered successful?" Slap. Jiang Zhao wanted to continue scolding, but Yi Er had already hung up. How dare she hang up on him? Jiang Zhao felt that this little girl was really unruly. She even dared to smash his phone because of a disagreement. She must have dug out the leopard's guts and put it on herself. Li Ran knocked on the door and entered the office to deliver the documents for the morning meeting. He took out his phone and dialed back. The photo on the screen was of the woman's side profile in the morning light. The screen kept showing the words, "connecting," and then it was cut off. Good, she dared not to pick up. She was bold again. He dialed the number again. "The number you have dialed is switched off." What a guy. Jiang Zhao threw his phone and slammed it on the table. Li Ran was shocked. Since when did Mayor Jiang not care about his own assets? Smashing the phone. After working in the office for so long, this was the first time he saw it. But Li Ran did not know that the reason why Jiang Zhao had smashed his phone was because of Yi Er. Jiang Zhao took out his phone and called Yi Er's office. The phone was picked up and hung up the moment he heard Jiang Zhao's voice. Good. Good. He did not believe that he could not teach her a lesson. This was not a big deal, and she still threw a tantrum with him. Why was she so uncomfortable when she could not dance with other men? Yi Er felt that she had seen a glimmer of hope, but now, it was all gone. Jiang Zhao was too despicable. He had used his authority to help her get benefits, and now, he used his authority to withdraw her benefits. This person was too despicable. Does he think he is so great just because he has authority? Fine. Even if he has authority, he should not play with her like this. He should not have given her hope in the first place, and now, he is blocking her way. He should not have given her any promises in the first place. Now, he is going back on his words. This is not what a man should do. She hated him. She was best at international and Latin dances. But now, he was telling her not to participate. When Jiang Zhao found Yi Er in her office, Yi Er was leaning over her desk, writing and drawing. The A4 paper was filled with drawings of turtles and the words, Jiang Zhao, you bastard, you tortoise. Jiang Zhao picked up a pen and drew a turtle on another piece of paper. He drew a few strands of grass on the turtle's head and wrote, Yun Yi, you be *tch, you tortoise. His handwriting was clearly 100 times better than Yi Er's. Damn. He actually came over to pick a fight with her in such a domineering manner. Yi Er sat up angrily. I don't want to see you. Get out. Why should I leave? If I want to stay, I will stay. Call the police. Just say that I am harassing you. Jiang Zhao, you are unreasonable. I have plenty of reasons. The two of them started quarreling. If you don't give in to me, I won't give in to you either. You say something and I say something back. It was a competition of whose voice was louder and whose aura was stronger. Jiang Zhao's aura enveloped the entire venue. Yi Er's aura came out of her throat and covered each other's ears. You promised to let me dance. You even said that you would guarantee that I would be the champion. The champion. Although it was a little suspicious that she had gotten in through the back door, even if she wanted to be vain, there was nothing wrong with that. Yi Er did not think that this was shameful behavior. She was not the only one who did this. Yes, I did promise you. But this international pas de deux is not allowed. Why not? What's wrong with international pas de deux? Are you discriminating? Is that so? You said it was okay at the beginning. Anyway, I won't allow any other man to hug you other than me. They will hug you longer than me. No, I won't even hug you once. When Jiang Zhao thought of this, he was all kinds of unhappy. He would only hug her when he got home at night, after dinner, when he went to bed, and when he fell asleep. How long would he hug her? And this was under the condition that he did not go on a business trip. Fei Yan said that for such a long program, rehearsing and practicing every day was like an 8-hour workday. To hug her for such a long time when she was sober and entrust her safety and life to that person, he would be an idiot to let his wife do such a thing. Fei Yan was right. He should not have opened a dance studio for her. If he wanted to make money, he could have opened a casino. Why open a dance studio? There would be problems as she danced. His wife was soft and tender. She had a graceful figure. Her face was like a lotus flower. Which normal man could hug her for hours and not have problems? Jiang Zhao, be reasonable. How can you think of me as that kind of person? You are not that kind of woman, but there are many men like that. Are you talking about you? Yes, if it were me, I would be. The two of them quarreled with red faces. In the end, the outcome was already decided from the beginning. Yi Er could not win. The winner would always be the chess player who could manipulate the game. Even if she could quarrel better than Jiang Zhao and reason better than Jiang Zhao had the power. If he did not say anything, the teacher behind the scenes could be removed. Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 692. Yi Er was disheartened and lowered his head. How could it be Xiaoya? Why couldn't it be done with her? How could he associate a normal dance with a man and a woman hugging? What was this man's brain made of? Xiaoya slammed the door of Zhuang Yichen's car. Zhuang Yichen started the car, and just as it entered the entrance of Duga, a white Land Rover stopped beside Xiaoya. He recognized the car. The license plate was Xiaoya's birthday. Kang Yiyun. He slammed his fist on the steering wheel. The car did not care about the traffic rules and made a left turn at the entrance of Duga. Xiaoya had just opened the door of Kang Yiyun's car when she was picked up like a little chick. When she was thrown into the back seat of Zhuang Yichen's car, she suddenly realized that it was Zhuang Yichen's doing. Kang Yiyun was about to open the door and chase after her, but Zhuang Yichen had already closed the door and sped away. The atmosphere in the car was freezing. Xiaoya could not help but shiver. Zhuang Yichen, what are you trying to do? Little demon Qiu, it seems like you still don't understand what I mean. When Zhuang Yichen spoke, his nostrils and jawline were frighteningly stiff. Even his voice was cold and emotionless. He took out his phone and dialed a number. After a few seconds, he said, Xia Qian, a fourth-year student at the media college who is interning at Channel 2, Xiaoya rushed over and snatched his phone. Zhuang Yichen. If you dare to touch Xia Qian, I'll fight you to the death. Zhuang Yichen continued to drive and glanced at the woman leaning against his shoulder. Risking my life. You think you can beat me? My life is tougher than yours. Do you want to try? What are you trying to do? Little demon Qiu, you should know why I didn't care about you a few years ago. You've been too naughty recently. Our relationship is over. I have my own life and freedom. The man sneered. Really? When did it end? Yesterday. The tip of Xiaoya's heart seemed to grow a thread. The more she pulled it, the longer it grew. The thread was thin and soft. When she pulled it, she was afraid it would break, but if she did not pull it, she was afraid it would get knotted. She pulled and pulled until she felt a little pain. Sitting back in his seat, he felt the soft and comfortable seat cushion. Not only was the exterior of the car dazzling, but the interior was also extravagant. Lying on such a seat was like lying on money. She wouldn't buy such a car even if she had the money. It was too expensive and the cost of maintenance was too high. Even if she could afford it, she couldn't afford to keep it. Everything needed to be managed. If you couldn't afford it but insisted on buying it as a shop front, you would be the one suffering. Xiaoya had always been a woman with a strong sense of anxiety. From the first day she was with Zhuang Yichen, she thought that she might be abandoned at any time, so she wanted her own house and career. That was why she bought a car that cost more than 200,000 yuan, in case she was abandoned by this man one day and could not afford a good car. She always had a way to comfort herself when she met with a setback. Just like this time, if it were someone else who had no one to help and no one to care, they would have hanged themselves long ago. But she didn't. She thought that at worst, she could just find another man to help her. Anyway, that was how she started her business. But when she put out the marriage advertisement and someone was willing to help her pay off her debt, she pretended to be noble and shy. That advertisement was a little selfish. Zhuang Yichen did not care about her and left her to fend for herself. Fine, then she would show him how she was born and how she was destroyed. It was not shameful to rely on a man. Qiu Xiaoya had relied on sleeping with men to get to where she was today. When he finally came to Qingfeng Garden, she was actually happy. There were some things that she couldn't understand. She just felt disappointed when she thought of him after they broke up. It was as if there was something imperfect. The cherry blossoms that had only bloomed for a day had withered because of the storm. It was really ugly. Just like how she looked after they broke up. It was really ugly. She was the one who wanted to break up, but he agreed without a frown. He generously gave her the house without even batting an eyelid. At that time, she felt like she had been abandoned. She already knew that she would be abandoned, but when it came, she was still at a loss. She didn't want to know how much of her mother's words were true and how much was false. But what was his attitude now? He didn't allow her to get married, but wanted her to continue sleeping with him. She didn't know how much she had to move this man. It didn't seem possible. She had lost her brilliance, but she couldn't afford to waste her youth anymore. Especially when she saw Jiang Zhao by Yi Er's side, she felt like she was terminally ill. She always told Yi Er that a woman should have her own career, so that she wouldn't be left with nothing when her man abandoned her. But it was so funny. Even if Yi Er was abandoned by her man in the future, she could still legally get a sum of alimony or get a share of Jiang Zhao's assets after they got divorced. But what about herself now? She would really be left with nothing after being abandoned by her man. When Yi Er was sick and hospitalized, Jiang Zhao took care of her every day. He was so busy with work, but he rushed to the hospital after work. When Yi Er's father was hospitalized, Jiang Zhao and Yi Er would visit him every day. If Yi Er wanted to eat something, Jiang Zhao would accompany her. Yi Er didn't wear luxury goods. She told her that because of Jiang Zhao's work, she couldn't be too extravagant or people would point fingers at her. Yi Er didn't wear sexy or seductive clothes. She told her that because Jiang Zhao didn't like her to wear revealing clothes. She also told her that she had to dress more maturely so that she would be more compatible with Jiang Zhao. Yi Er dared to act coquettishly to Jiang Zhao in front of a table of friends and said, "I want to eat that, but I can't get it." Jiang Zhao would satisfy her immediately. When Yi Er called to say that she wasn't feeling well, the first person to rush over would definitely be Jiang Zhao. The two of them could stand hand in hand under the sun. That was the kind of happiness that marriage could bring. To get this, Yi Er used some means to force Jiang Zhao to give in, but she still benefited from it. Xiaoye felt that she was jealous. An uncontrollable jealousy took root in her heart and sprouted, growing lush branches and leaves. They were both women with men, but this difference was too painful. Xiaoye was still looking out the window. Her eyes were faintly moist. "Actually, we always knew that our relationship was built when you were valuable to me. When my career collapsed, you weren't willing to help me. If that's the case, then our exchange isn't equal. But all these years, my achievements were all because of you. All this time, you slept with me for nothing. Just treat it as the interest I paid. What are you still not satisfied with? Why do you have to make it so ugly and use my sister to threaten me?" Xiaoye could only hear the man's breathing in the car. She sighed softly. "I can't be with you forever. I still have parents. I have to think about them. You always knew that my mother wanted me to get married. Even without Kang Yiyun, they would still introduce Lu Yiyun, Zhang Yiyun, Wang Yiyun to me in the future. Chen, sooner or later, I will get married, have children, and have my own family. A happy family that my parents hoped for." For the first time, Xiaoye called Zhuang Chen by his name. "Yunyi, I agree that you want to be successful. But dancing is out of the question. Or I can open another company for you. I can allocate a lot of business for you. If you want to make money, make your own money. That's a very simple thing. But to be famous for dancing, that's out of the question." Yi Er sat in her seat and looked up at the man who was looking down at her from above. His firm tone, as well as the domineering and strong aura that he exuded, enveloped her like a net. It tightened around her until her voice and confidence became smaller and smaller. "Jiang Zhao, I want to do what I like to do, what I'm interested in. Jiang Zhao bent down and rested his elbows on Ye's desk. He held Ye's face in his hands and stared at her. It's a blessing to be able to turn your interest into your career. But if you can't have it both ways, why can't you treat your interest as a hobby? Still what I said before, do you have to use applause and flowers to get the affirmation of others for what you like? Then do you yearn for flowers and applause, or do you yearn for your interest? Jiang Zhao, you're talking nonsense. However, Jiang Zhao was very serious. True interests and hobbies don't need the affirmation of others. Yun Yi, everything is the same. Let me give you a simple example. When we got married, not many people gave us their sincere blessings. Our family backgrounds didn't match, our ages didn't match. Such voices could be heard everywhere. But we're willing to be together. Even without the approval of others, we're still living very well. Groups of people are jumping out to ask for a divorce. They don't approve of us and doubt us. But we're still together. You're my interest, and I'm your interest. Isn't it fine as long as both of us approve of each other? Why do you have to show off what you think is good to everyone? But if you show it to others, will you be happier than you are now? Yi was stunned. Jiang Zhao continued, if we show it to others, the people who applaud you will say, wow, they're so happy. That's great. I'm so envious. But what about the people who gave you the eggs? They will say that the woman is so young, and the man is so old. The man's family background is so good, and the woman's family background is so terrible. They will also say that the woman is insensible, and the man has no taste. In the end, the happy thing will be dug deeper and deeper by others. Your past, my past, things that we clearly don't care about, will become more and more unbearable by those eggs. Small things will become bigger and bigger by others. Do you dare say that with your tolerance, you'll be able to do it without being disturbed? Yi couldn't help but admit that she admired Jiang Zhao. When she wasn't with him, even if she ran into obstacles everywhere, she was still the one making the decisions. She could be considered a person with her own opinions. But ever since she got together with him, all the decisions no longer seemed to have anything to do with her. But in the end, she was always willing to compromise. Someone once said that a person can't succeed for no reason. Jiang Zhao was the same, right? He had the ability to grab hold of the weakness that others cared about the most and hit it with one blow, causing the opponent to be utterly defeated. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 693. I want. Yi wanted to be famous. Perhaps at her age, such vain thoughts could be found everywhere. Her heart was in turmoil. Jiang Zhao still held Yi's face and said slyly, Think, what do you want to eat? I'll accompany you for lunch, okay? He knew that dancing was not feasible and would make Yi very unhappy, but he had no choice but to try his best to make up for it. I want to eat ice cream to vent my anger. Okay, let's have an ice cream feast for lunch. Okay. Yi agreed hesitantly. Yi thought that Jiang Zhao was capable enough. Jiang Zhao thought that Yi was magnanimous enough. Just like that, the two of them went for lunch as if nothing had happened. Yi did not choose to have an ice cream banquet. Humans were made of iron and rice was made of steel. No matter what, she had to eat her fill to have the strength to work. She ordered 3 dishes, 1 soup, and 2 ice creams. Yi had lived a hard life for 2 years, so she was very meticulous when it came to ordering food. She knew how to pair the 3 dishes of meat and vegetable soup, what kind of dishes would be served, and how many people would eat. Jiang Zhao looked at her serious expression and felt that his wife was really good at managing the household. Although he did not need her to save money, he just felt that she was cute. When they were eating, Yi received a call from Zhou Li. She was a little hesitant. Jiang Zhao asked, Who is it? Zhou Li, Yi frowned. It turned out that the most troublesome thing was not one's career, but one's family. No wonder people said that marriage and family were a woman's life career. It was indeed so. Her family was a mess. Fortunately, she was not famous yet. If she became famous in the future and people found out about it, it would be embarrassing for Jiang Zhao. Forget it. So be it behind the scenes. She did not want to stir up trouble. Answer it. Jiang Zhao gestured with his chin. As soon as Yi Er picked up the phone, Jolie sighed over the phone before she could say anything. Her main thought was that she had spent all her money. Yi Er hung up the phone and started to eat her food. Jiang Zhao sat opposite her and asked, "What's wrong?" "Little fox. It's fine. Let's eat." "Did something happen to her again?" "Don't care about her. Let's eat." Yi Er stood up and took the bowl in front of Jiang Zhao. He filled it with soup and set it aside to dry. He sat down again. "Yun Yi." Jiang Zhao looked at Yi Er sulking. He had probably vented his anger countless times already. If he kept holding it in like this, he would suffer internal injuries. Actually, it's impossible to ignore it. Yi Er looked up. She's always saying that she doesn't have money. How can she take care of everything? Jiang Zhao said, "She's your mother. This can't be changed. No matter what she does that makes your hair stand on end, you should still take care of her. Actually, you don't have to be so calculative if she spends a little more money every month. Are you afraid that your husband can't afford to support her?" "Jiang Zhao, you can't say that. You don't know how much she has gone overboard. I just gave her money. It's only been a few days. And before I went to G City, I was worried that she wouldn't be able to take care of herself, so I went to the supermarket in the afternoon to buy her a lot of things. Food, drinks, necessities, everything that she needs, I've already bought them all. I even bought her sanitary pads. She spent more than 3 million on clothes and cosmetics that night. What else does she need to spend?" Thinking about this, Yi Er couldn't get angry. Fortunately, this mother found a big backer, Hu Jincheng, 2 years ago. Otherwise, if he followed her, he would definitely have used up all the money he had to sell the house to protect himself. When that time came, he would have no money to eat and he would probably be so poor that he would have to sell his younger brother. "Yun Yi, you care that she spends too much money. But if you're rich, will you give her money?" "But I don't have money." Jiang Zhao couldn't help but laugh. "Then don't I have money?" Yi Er waved her hand and said impatiently, "Even if you have money, you can't let her squander it like that. Forget it, stop talking about it. Whenever you talk about it, I'm reminded of how she looked like when she spent more than 3 million yuan a night. Whenever I think of her, my liver hurts. Really, it's not that I've forgotten my mother after marrying my husband, but there's a limit to everything. Anyway, I can't take it anymore. I really don't know how my father and Hu Jincheng can stand her. My liver hurts." Jiang Zhao looked at Yi Er's angry expression and raised his hand to calm him down. Okay. I won't talk about it. But if she doesn't have money, you should at least ensure that she has basic living expenses, don't you think? Isn't 3,000 yuan a month enough? We're living a good life in the 9th mansion, right? Dad, see Jia, you, me, when we're living together, I don't even spend 3,000 yuan a month on groceries. She's living alone. I'm the one who pays for the utilities. Jiang Zhao hated Jolie, but it was fine as long as they moved out and didn't live together. If he didn't care, it wouldn't be right. The Jiang and Qin families taught filial piety as the most important thing. Although he couldn't stand Jolie anymore and couldn't be filial emotionally, Yi Er had the responsibility and obligation to support her morally and legally. Yun Yi, what do you think about this matter? How about we arrange it this way? 3,000 yuan isn't enough for her to spend, and you're unwilling to give her more. Why don't we each take a step back? You give her 5,000 yuan a month and let our auntie introduce a colleague to her. The colleague will cook for her 3 meals a day and tidy up the place. The auntie will buy the groceries. This way, at least we don't have to worry about her going hungry. What do you think? Yi Er's eyes lit up, and her mood suddenly brightened. She grabbed the big glass of ice cream and lowered her head to eat it. It was cold and sweet, but not too greasy. It was really comfortable. Hubby, why are you so smart? Why didn't I think of it? Then in the future, give her 3,000 yuan a month and hire a cook. Jiang Zhao thought he heard wrongly. Didn't you say 5,000 yuan? Then we'll have to add another 2,000 yuan to hire a cook. 3,000 yuan is enough. In the past, I spent less than 2,000 yuan a month taking care of Si Jia, and I even raised him so well. Now, we're the ones buying her daily necessities and skincare products. How much money can she spend? Jiang Zhao's heart suddenly ached. He stretched out his long arm and wanted to reach out to rub her head, but he was afraid of touching her bitter past. He wiped the corner of her mouth with his thumb. Eat less ice cream in this season. Look at how greedy you are. You make the decision. You have to spend more time mediating the matters at home. If the family is peaceful, everything will prosper. Do you understand? Yi Er nodded and pouted. She felt a little guilty. Jiang Zhao, I shouldn't be thinking about becoming famous at all. There are a lot of things at home that haven't been settled yet. It's great that you can think like this. After Yi Er finished eating, she quickly contacted the housekeeper at home and quickly found a cook for Zhou Li. She went to Zhou Li's house again and gave her 3,000 yuan. Mom, I've hired a cook for you this time. You don't have to buy the groceries. The cook will be done. I'll get her to cook according to the standards at 9th Mansion. Yi Er, 3,000 yuan isn't enough. I wanted to book a monthly membership card for the beauty salon yesterday. I even chose the cheapest package, which cost 5,099 yuan. Mom, we can't afford that kind of beauty salon. Can't you find a salon that only deals with faces? But how can we not go to a spa? Yi Er felt like the tendons in her brain were dancing on a bamboo pole. They were tapping so hard that her head hurt. Don't we have a bathtub at home? Can't we buy some flower petals and pour some milk into it? Yi Er, how can you treat Mom like this? Isn't this good enough? Then what did you do to me in the past? Don't you know that everything is hereditary? If I were your biological child, shouldn't I learn from you back then? Mom! Yi Er shouted weakly and said, it was Jiang Zhao who didn't allow me to do that. If it weren't for the fact that Jiang Zhao looks down on unfilial people, I really... She took a deep breath and said, I really don't want to care about you anymore. I want you to be like me in the past and fend for yourself. I will send you 3,000 yuan on this day next month. Don't call me during normal times. I won't pick up. Then what if Mom gets sick? Zhou Li looked at Yi Er's face, which was as cold as a stranger's. She was about to cry. Then I'll discuss it with Jiang Zhao in the afternoon. We'll reserve a VIP number for you at the private hospital. When you get there, just put it on our tab. What do you think? No matter how cold and hard Yi Er was, her eyes still turned red after she entered the elevator. If she wasn't afraid of feeding Zhou Li's appetite, there were some things she couldn't say. Shen Kai called Jiang Zhao and told him he would be waiting for him in his office. When Jiang Zhao returned to his office, he saw Shen Kai sitting on the sofa and bickering with Li Ran like a gentleman. It seemed that Shen Kai had suffered too much recently. If he didn't find someone to vent his frustrations on, he would die of boredom. Li Ran was also pitiful. She didn't know how to be tactful and straightforward. She was so angry that she jumped up after hearing a few words from Shinkai. When Li Ran saw that Jiang Zhao had returned, she left the room. As soon as Li Ran left, Shinkai immediately showed his hooligan side. He crossed his legs and leaned against the sofa with a roguish look on his face. This secretary of yours doesn't know how to deal with people. This won't do. When Jiang Zhao saw the change in Shinkai, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I think it's okay. A straightforward person doesn't need to worry. Shinkai took out a wrapped file from his briefcase. I brought some originals for you to see. You can write down the important ones, but I can't give you copies and originals. Jiang Zhao rubbed his face and smiled. Kai, I realized that you've been in a mess recently, but your mind is still very clear. Shinkai stood up and walked to Jiang Zhao's desk. He took out the file and a pen from Jiang Zhao's pen holder and placed it on the table. He raised his eyebrows and smiled. Of course, if I give you copies or originals, you'll know that they're from my place. I won't give you the chance to frame me. Jiang Zhao sat back in his seat and took out his pen from the drawer on his left. He twisted the pen cap and skimmed through the file. The Inspection Institute was really a good place. There were all kinds of secrets. Ouyang Xing had put in a lot of effort in the past few years. He laughed softly. Shinkai, you're really smart. You're actually guarding against me. Hurry up and give me a copy. Of course, to be on the same side as a wolf, one must wear armor. Ha! You're the wolf. Jiang Zhao also laughed. Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 694. Shinkai looked at Jiang Zhao taking notes. Fine, fine, fine. A wolf is a wolf. How can there be a wolf like me who will repay the kindness of a drop of water? Jiang Zhao looked at Shinkai with disdain as he recorded the important data. Don't flatter yourself. Can you keep it up? Shinkai had a smug look on his face. I have to keep it up even if I can't keep it up. Flattering looks good. Ouyang Yan had never thought that Shinkai would make her a mere figurehead. When she returned to work, she realized that there was nothing for her to do. All the cases that she was in charge of had been assigned to her colleagues. It was obvious that she was not part of the team now, that she had to keep her mouth shut about the case. What was the meaning of this? She looked for Shinkai, but Shinkai looked very busy. He did not care about her, but he arranged for her to work very seriously. However, the work she did was all trivial. Ouyang Yan was angry when she thought of Shinkai. The reason she did not like Shinkai was very simple. He was like a hooligan. He looked like a hooligan since he was young. Even in law school, he was still a hooligan. He couldn't be compared to Jiang Zhao at all. Jiang Zhao always had a calm and experienced appearance wherever he went. Many people listened to Jiang Zhao's words, unlike Shinkai, who always caused trouble and annoyed people just by looking at him. But when Shinkai suddenly treated her with a very serious attitude, she could not get used to it. He was so cold, as if they did not know each other. As for Shinkai, Ouyang Yan was a dream of his youth. At that time, Ouyang Yan was like a princess in his dreams. He always felt that Ouyang Yan was sparkling, there was something very shiny about her. If it was not for Ouyang Yan's tricks on Jiang Zhao, he might not have woken up from that dream. At least, he felt that dreaming was a good thing. When he woke up and thought about it, it was a nightmare. Could it be that the princess was a witch and the dream was not a nightmare? What dream could be more shocking than this dream? A woman who was weak in his impression suddenly held a big knife and slashed at everyone, including the old, the weak, the women, and the children. He really couldn't accept such a change. No wonder Jiang Zhao refused to look back. Could it be that Jiang Zhao had already woken up from that dream? In the end, he woke up early because of his deep understanding of the situation. Shinkai, what are you trying to do? You actually made me so empty. Facing the Ouyang Yan's finger, Shinkai replied lazily, Inspector O. Yes, I'm not making you a mere figurehead. I'm just assigning you the most suitable position for what you're doing. I used to be in charge of cases, but now you want me to be a clerk. I'm telling you, I won't do it. Ouyang Yan couldn't accept it. She had a double master's degree, and he wanted her to do a clerical job and be in charge of all kinds of documents. Did Shinkai's brain get hit by a door? Shinkai put down the pen in his hand and looked up at the beauty leaning on his desk. He raised his eyebrows, and his eyes curved into a mischievous smile. However, in the blink of an eye, he suddenly became serious and said to the Ouyang Yan, the party teaches us to bow our heads and be willing to be children and cattle. The country needs to be built, and we are the party. As a member, we are the tiles of the nation, the bricks of society. We will move wherever we are needed. There are many kinds of jobs in society. We can't be picky. We can't be light and afraid of heavy work. Any work is of profound significance to the progress of society, and as the party as a member, we should first set an example and take the lead. Comrade Ouyang, the administrative department needs you now. You can't shirk your responsibilities. This is irresponsible to the people and society. If you want to do this, you are not a qualified party member. Ouyang Yan was so angry that her face was red. Shinkai stood up with a serious expression. He even looked at the Ouyang Yan with a stern gaze and asked, "What's wrong with the administrative department? Without the administrative department, where would we get the documents we need to try the case? Without those documents, how would we be able to try the case perfectly? The brick of the administrative department is a big brick or even a big stone. It is the foundation of the entire inspection institute. Comrade Ouyang, you can't ignore such an important position. As a member, you have a discriminatory attitude towards the job. I suggest you reflect on it." Shinkai was like this. He raised his eyebrows and smiled mischievously. 3 seconds later, he became serious, and a second later, he spoke earnestly. After a sentence, he was serious, and stern. What was even more shocking was that after he finished speaking, he coughed awkwardly and touched his nose mischievously. As an Ouyang Yan who often played together since they were young and studied in the same university, Shinkai was like riding a roller coaster. It was unacceptable. Especially the way he spoke. If he made his voice sound older, covered his face, and played the silent news in front of you, you would think that there was a meeting of the people. This bastard. Ouyang Yan scolded Shinkai in her heart. Shinkai actually wanted to cover his face, because when he saw Ouyang Yan's pale face, he almost laughed out loud. But as a party member, how could a member be so unserious? So he held it in. Ouyang Yan bit her lip. Shinkai, I have a double master's degree, and you want me to be a brick in the administrative department. What about you? Why don't you go? You're here as a brick at the top of the pyramid. It's so beautiful. Shinkai's expression became serious. Wrong, Comrade Ouyang. You can't use the pyramid, which obviously has a feudal class element, to insult my pure party member. Sex. Ouyang Yan spat at Shinkai in her heart. Pure party member. Sex. Bah. Don't say party member. Sex, even the word pure, had nothing to do with Shinkai. If you're a brick, then you're a piece of ceramic tile that's pasted on the building of the inspection department. Shinkai lazily sat back in his seat. He had a ruffian smile on his face and a light in his eyes. 3 seconds later, he stopped smiling and pretended to be serious. Even if I'm the ceramic tile pasted on the outside of the inspection department, do you think it's a face-saving project? No, you don't know the value of the ceramic tile. You only see the surface. Have you really seriously considered the value of the ceramic tile pasted on the walls of the inspection department building? Winter and summer, wind and sun, sun and rain, which one of them isn't covered by ceramic tile? If it weren't for the ceramic tile that sheltered the bricks of the building day and night, this building would have been old. Have you ever been grateful for the spirit of the ceramic tile's selfless dedication? Ouyang Yen was so angry that she wanted to smash the table. Shinkai, you're going too far. You're just relying on the fact that I can't outtalk you, right? Shinkai said very humbly, no, how can you not outtalk me? You have a double master's degree, and you're still taking the PhD exam. I'm not as knowledgeable as you. This isn't a question of whether I can outtalk you or not. It's because I'm reasonable. As the ancients say, if you're reasonable, you can walk all over the world. If you're unreasonable, you can't do anything. Ouyang Yen gritted her teeth and scolded, bastard. It was obvious that he was unreasonable, and now he was saying that she was unreasonable. Shinkai sighed. You don't know how to respect your superiors. Remember to organize the meeting materials for tomorrow's meeting. You can leave now. After Ouyang Yen left, Shinkai closed the door and called Jiang Zhao. If you want to do it, you better hurry up. Ouyang Yen is still in the inspection department. Even if I made her a figurehead and she can't touch the case, she still has acquaintances. If she gets wind of this, you won't have a chance after the family Ouyang is settled. Jiang Zhao replied. I know. I know what I'm doing. I will not stop what I'm supposed to do. That's good. Hello, I heard that Mrs. Jiang is going to take part in a national dance competition on TV too. If such a beautiful Mrs. Mayor were to take part in such a competition, she would attract a lot of attention, right? I don't know who the male partner is. If she doesn't find a handsome partner, it won't be harmonious. If it's a handsome man and a beautiful woman, I think everyone in Haicheng will be watching that program from 1 to 8:40 p.m. What will happen then? Shinkai chuckled softly after he finished speaking. Jiang Zhao paused for 2 seconds. Once again, he felt that what Fei Yen said was right. Everyone was thinking the same thing. The news spread quickly. Even Shinkai knew about it. But Shinkai did not know that he had removed Yi Er's name from the list. Fortunately, he removed Yi Er's name quickly. Otherwise, Yi Er would have become the talk of the town. Jiang Zhao knew that Shinkai had used such a tone to remind him to be mindful of the consequences. How could he not understand such an obvious meaning? No, it's just that her dance studio will provide some teachers and partners. She will be behind the scenes. Then I won't be able to see it. But I still hope that sister-in-law's dance studio will be a hit. Please pass on my blessings. Thank you. I will definitely pass on my blessings to her. Jiang Zhao hung up the phone and looked down at the documents in his hands. His brows furrowed. The family Ouyang and Yun Hongwei's case was so complicated. It was really annoying. He had to think of a way to avoid any leads on Yun Hongwei. If that was the case, he could not let the family Ouyang know that he was the one who did it. Otherwise, the Ouyang Yen would easily implicate Yun Hongwei. Holding the phone, his thumb touched the screen hard. He called Zhuang Yichen. Are you free? I'm not free. Zhuang Yichen's voice was very loud. Very loud. Very fierce. Very angry. Jiang Zhao was stunned. If Zhuang Yichen could be so angry, it meant that there were no outsiders around him. He did not know who had provoked him. To be able to provoke Zhuang Yichen to this extent, the person must be very brave. As he thought about it, he laughed. God, what's wrong? Are you having menstrual cramps? Do you want me to get my secretary to buy you some menstrual cramps? Welfare, Hongcha 866. Chapter 695. When Zhuang Yichen heard Jiang Zhao's words, he wasn't in the mood to continue the conversation. "I'm not free. I'll contact you later." After hanging up, Jiang Zhao didn't call him again. He knew that Zhuang Yichen must have encountered a difficult problem. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so angry. He shrugged and threw the phone on the table. So be it. Zhuang Yichen didn't know why Jiang Zhao was looking for him. If it was in the past, they would have gone straight to the point after exchanging a few words. After all, Jiang Zhao didn't have the habit of calling him for no reason. However, he wasn't in the mood today. He hadn't even gone to the office yet. Looking at the woman sitting on the sofa, Zhuang Yichen was in a daze. He hadn't brought anyone to the 9th mansion. It should be said that where he lived, whether it was the suburbs or here, he didn't like to bring women home. Therefore, he had always been the one to visit her. He'd brought her here today because her parents were in Qingfeng Garden. They couldn't talk outside, so they couldn't continue the conversation. So, he brought her back. Recently, she had messed up his rhythm and principles a few times. This wasn't a good sign. Logically speaking, he should have been more magnanimous and let her go when she told him about her situation with tears streaming down her face. Just like last time, when she mentioned breaking up and said that she missed Kang Yun, the man she loved, he remembered what she said at the time, but he didn't really listen. She probably said that she didn't want the house anymore. He said that he was the one who gave the house away. How could he take it back? A villa and a duplex were transferred to her name in the shortest time possible. In fact, he had always been a person who haggled over the smallest details. Even when he was with a brother like Jiang Zhao, unless the other party urgently needed his help, they would always exchange benefits of equal value. Only then would he help, and Jiang Zhao was the same. When he was with her, he had already calculated and felt that it was a good deal. That was why he continued with the relationship. Now that she thought about it, when he gave her the house when they broke up, he was also calculating. Logically speaking, she was the one who initiated the breakup, so he did not have to give her the house. But he was so generous and gave it all to her. Was he really such a kind person? No. He, Zhuang Yichen, had never been such a kind person. After the first business deal, he was thinking about the second one. He was investing. The purpose of investing in the house was to get a return on investment. What he wanted in return was for this woman to think of him when she lived in the house he gave her, and not to run into another man's arms as soon as she turned around. He had always known that she was a cold person, but he still made this investment. This was the risk investment that often existed in their circle. It was too risky to invest capital in such a woman. If they were not careful, they would lose everything. He had taken a liking to this business and decided to invest in it because they had a foundation of nearly 4 years. During these 4 years, she had been very obedient. Every time he found out about her methods of rejecting those suitors, he could not help but clap his hands and applaud. After they broke up, she did not think about the past. She only wanted to throw herself at Kang Yun. She could not understand why. After being separated for so many years, what feelings could they have for each other? Tell me, what do you want so that you won't cause trouble? Ever since he brought Xiaoye home, Zhuang Yichen's tone became much gentler. Do I look like I'm causing trouble? Why don't I wait until I get married and then have an affair with you behind my husband's back? What do you think of this plan? But I have to be clear. When I sleep with you, you have to wear a condom. Otherwise, when the child is born, we won't know who the father is. Also, when I get pregnant, I won't be able to sleep with you for a long time. You can't blame me. During the pregnancy, you have to be careful. Don't do strenuous exercise. If Xiaoye said this in her usual arrogant manner, one would know that it was pure nonsense. But at this time, she was sitting on the sofa with her head lowered, twisting her fingers. Her voice was slow and monotonous, and she looked very tired. The more she was like this, the more serious she looked. Zhuang Yichen was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He originally pressed Xiaoye down on the sofa and pulled a chair to sit opposite her. He just looked at her like this. At this time, he suddenly stood up. When he straightened his leg, he pushed the chair back. When he lifted his leg, he lost his balance and almost tripped himself. At this time, all the fire was directed at the innocent chair, and the clean living room became a mess. Xiaoye looked up blankly. In recent years, she had never looked at Zhuang Yichen with such an expression. Zhuang Yichen had also never seen Xiaoye like this. Stop kicking. Xiaoye took a breath. You shouldn't be asking me what I want. Actually, I should be the one asking you. What do you want? Zhuang Yichen put his hands on his waist and walked 2 rounds in annoyance. He pulled off his tie and threw it on the chair. Then, he took off his expensive suit and threw it casually on the floor like a rag. He bent over to pick up the cup on the coffee table and took a big gulp of water. Finally, he said, "You're not allowed to get married. You're not allowed to have intimate contact with other men. That's all I want." The woman's sigh was light and long. It sounded weak. Zhuang Yichen. Yichen. Zhuang Yichen's back stiffened for a moment. In the car, because she had called out to him like this, he hadn't come back to his senses for a long time. She was doing it again. Don't try to fool me with your tricks. Don't make it sound like you're weak. Put away your tricks. Xiaoye acted as if she hadn't heard him. Yichen, can you be fair? I've been with you for 4 years. How many more years do you think I have? I'm 25 years old now. You can't forbid me from finding my future just because you think that I'm still fresh and you haven't had enough of me. What will happen to me in the future? I've been with you for 4 years. Can you really bear to see me grow old and never be able to get married? Then I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. If you're worried, I'll give you some of the company's shares. As long as the company doesn't get into trouble, I guarantee that you'll be able to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Or, I can buy you a high-value insurance policy. Even if my company collapses in the future, you won't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of your life. Is that okay? Zhuang Yichen said it naturally. He felt that this was the best solution. Didn't a woman marry to find someone to rely on? He had already paved the way for her. Now, she wouldn't think about it anymore, right? Also, I'll settle your debt for you tomorrow. Now that he thought about it, he really should have listened to Jiang Zhao. It was all because of the closing of the shop. He wanted her to reflect on the evils of society, but she wanted to take a shortcut and get married. Xiaoye looked at Zhuang Yichen in surprise. She bit her lips. You want me to be your underground prostitute for the rest of my life? Zhuang Yichen was annoyed to answer this question. They were fine like this now. Why do you have to say that it's an underground prostitute? Then what is it? Xiaoye stood up. Her body swayed slightly, but she used all her strength to stand firm. Her eyes were sore, her breathing was erratic, and her voice was very nasal. Tell me, if it's not an underground prostitute, what is it? No one eats with me, sleeps with me, watches movies with me, picks food for me, and there's no one to talk to. In the middle of the night, when I have a fever, I get out of bed to pour myself some water, but I fall on the ground and sleep until the next morning. Now, I don't even dare to get sick, Zhuang Yichen. Do you think I'm a superwoman? Do you want to shoulder everything by yourself? Ah. Boo! Xiaoye had never cried in front of Zhuang Yichen like today. Over and over again, from the first time she cried silently, to this time she cried out loud, her body was embraced. In front of her was a firm chest, and her back was a gentle touch. Her head was slowly rubbed by the man's big hand. The voice above her head was slightly hoarse, but every word was as sharp as a knife. Xiao Yao, let's do this for now. This is the only thing we can do now. Explain to your parents and tell them to stay away from Kong Yun. Xiao Yao, although I can't guarantee that I will accompany you every day, I can guarantee that if you dare to get involved with Kong Yun, you will only hurt him. I don't want you to hate me. I don't care how deep your relationship was in the past, but if he touches my woman, I will let him die. Even his corpse will not be found. Xiaoya suddenly quivered. Lips. Kisses. Her clothes were slowly stripped off. She was carried by the waist, and the man on top of her pressed down. It was the first time she slept in Zhuang Yichen's bed. For Xiaoya, it was a different experience. It was as if this was a different world. Only here did she feel like she was not a virgin. After a while, she finally got out of bed and put on her clothes. I'm going back to Qingfeng Garden to sleep. Okay. I'll send you there. In the future, I'll get someone to send you food every day. Okay. The obvious sense of distance made Zhuang Yichen frown slightly, but then he relaxed. He was still wearing his shirt. I'll get Uncle Li to contact you. Tell him what dishes you like to eat. Okay. Xiaoya just agreed. After sending Xiaoya off, Zhuang Yichen came out of Qingfeng Garden. He dialed Jiang Zhao's cell phone. Brother Zhao, what's up this afternoon? You've settled things. Yes. Yichen, I have something to discuss with you. Go ahead. Yun Hongwei had borrowed a sum of money from Ouyang Yu in the past, and when he got this sum of money, he naturally went through the unspoken rules. If I want to disassociate this sum of money from bribery, what should I do? Jiang Zhao's words were probing. He knew how to graft, but someone had to be willing to take the fall. Zhuang Yichen parked the car by the side of the road and thought about Jiang Zhao's words. Brother Zhao, I think it might be because Yun Hongwei is your father-in-law that you're so cautious and can't use your fists and feet. Actually, we all know that it's impossible to expose his case. If the mastermind behind it is exposed, we can't afford to offend him. But if we want to destroy Ouyang Xing, now is the best time. Yun Hongwei has been in a deep coma. Even if we expose all the small things, he'll still be safe. Also, I suggest that we cut down all the thorns on the road while he's in a deep coma. We can't even give them a chance to breathe. I can cooperate with you. Zhuang Yichen's words were ruthless and decisive. They suddenly cleared up Jiang Zhao's mind. Sure enough, he was too restrained to think things through. Come and see, Hongcha 866.